Today's date is January 14th, 2018. Hello and welcome to episode 19 of Hit the Books Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Holcomb.
And I'm Emery Saunders.
And we're here to give you the saucy deets on everything comics this week. Now, if that sounds good to you, please hit like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. It helps us a lot. We're trying to get that vanity URL for our YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah.
And we require a certain number of views and a certain number of likes and subscribes. So please like, subscribe, all that jazz. It really, really does help us, genuinely. And if you're listening on Stitcher or iTunes or SoundCloud, we really appreciate you. But if you do a solid, just go to our website, htbvids.com. Click our YouTube channel. It'll take you right there, and you can just help us out a little bit if you so choose.
Oh,
But
yeah.
if not, we appreciate you anyway. Thanks for listening. Remember, Hit the Books Podcast is our weekly comic book podcast. We release every Wednesday, or at least try to make it every Wednesday. Again, we're two broke guys that do this very late at night when we're not working.
Yeah, we're two broke guys.
Or reading
watch
comics.
that show.
Yeah. Soon to come. The sequel. But again, thanks for listening and helping us out. And if you can like, subscribe, and all that jazz, it really would do us a solid. So those of you unfamiliar with the format of the show, we basically talk about what we've been reading. We go into the news items for the week. Then we run you through the new releases coming to your local comic book shops. Support your local comic book shops.
And your digital devices.
And then we talk about two topics of our choosing about the world of comic books. And in between, we give away our cover and variant covers of the week.
Oh, yeah.
There's a little change, a little tweak to the topics this week.
Oh, yeah. This is a special
exclusively for this week. So stay tuned. It's very relevant to reviewing the previous year.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let's get into it. Emery, what have you been reading?
Well, I read The Gift That Keeps on Giving. Mr. Miracle, number 6.
By Tom King.
Drawn by Mitch Gerrits.
So I also read this.
Yeah.
I thought the last issue was good, not great. This one went back to great.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, that one, it is the gift that keeps on giving. With a twist at the end where I was like, oh my God, we're about to really get into it now. Oh.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't still give me like the goosebumps that the first few issues did when it happened.
Right.
Especially the first issue.
Oh,
they really
yeah.
sold the Dark Side Is panel
Yeah.
very well, but it's lost its touch a little bit for me.
Yeah.
But it was still exciting.
Yeah, this I think is basically a setup for really paying off what Darkseid is. Especially the last couple of panels in issue 6.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give anything away because you should be reading Mr. Miracle.
Yeah, we've been telling you for weeks and weeks and weeks to read Mr. Miracle. It's been going on since, November, October, somewhere around there?
Somewhere around there. And we're going to keep telling you, read Mr. Miracle.
Yeah, Mr. Miracle is a great comic. Did you read any other ones?
I got to read a couple of issue number 2s. There was Port of Earth. Number 2.
Number 3.
Number 3. Oh, that's a number 3.
We'll run through them.
Yeah.
As you can see, I have a stack of comics over here. I still need to bag and board because I'm lazy.
The struggle is real.
It was, indeed.
The
Port of
struggle-
Earth, issue 3.
That's
from
an
Image Comics.
That's an issue 3. Read that. That one's still good. It's still good.
Yeah. Picture End of Watch plus District 9
Yeah.
plus Men in Black.
Up to a certain
original
point.
one.
Yeah. The first one. The good one.
It's very... I love Port of Earth. It's very good. And
yeah.
this issue was no different. Although, I felt like it gave us a little less than the first 2 issues did. First 2 issues I thought set up very well, and this one was... it gave us some stuff, but it was a little...
Yeah.
I felt like the whole comic could have been wrapped up in 3 pages.
Right. I think that one definitely needed to end earlier than it did. At least by a couple of pages, honestly.
And Port of Earth, written by Zach Kaplan, illustrated by Andrea Muti. So, shout out to you guys. We're loving the book, and I hope to see more in the next issue.
Yeah, keep doing what you're doing.
Anything else?
Read Witchblade #1.
Number 2?
Oh, that's number 2.
Yeah. Did you not read the first one?
I didn't read the first one.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I led you astray.
Oh.
I have the first one. You can read the first one.
Oh, yeah,
So,
yeah.
you
That'll
must have been
that'll
a little-
help.
You must have been a little confused. Huh?
A little bit.
Okay.
In reading issue 2 first, it definitely felt like we're just jumping straight into a CW Arrow setup.
Yeah, it did kind of have that narration at the beginning, didn't it?
It did. I had to become someone else.
Yeah.
Something else.
Witchblade, for those of you who don't know, this is the new reboot that they've done. It's a much more mature, not like boob exploitative comic like the old Witchblade. Old Witchblade had good stories, but it was just so like discouraging for readers because it was just blatantly obvious it was a naked female body comic.
It looked like the one where you had to be an adult to buy, but a teenager to appreciate.
Yeah. And this new reboot by Caitlin Kittredge and Roberta Ingranata is just awesome. I have the first 2 issues. The first one sold me very quickly. The internal art is just as good as the external cover art, and the writing is legit. Like the main character actually does some deduction. She's actually working and having a professional career, and she's not just transforming into boob art every 10 seconds, And
she is a character.
There's action in these books, and
she's actually a character.
There's a plot thread that I really love, and I am just digging this Witchblade reboot a lot. I am loving it. So,
Sleepless
issue 2, also from Image Comics.
Yeah, definitely just a straightforward high fantasy vibe.
Yeah, from Sarah Vaughn and Layla Del Luca.
Yeah, that one, there's something about the art that just, it seems boring to me. I'm not sure if it's like the color palette where everything seems muted.
Yeah, it has this weird aesthetic where it reminds me of like children's books where they have like the drawn art, and then they have like the texture palettes that they just kind of paste in the shape of a shirt,
Yeah.
Like instead of drawing the shirt and putting the coloration and stuff, they like find some kind of texture palette and put it over like a cutout shape.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. I don't know if that's the case, but
kind of had that feel to it.
I have to agree. It's a little boring. It doesn't
Yeah.
stand out as much as I think it could, especially in this kind of like fantasy,
Yeah, like that's the
hierarchy.
kind of thing where it's either you're going to commit to this bit and hopefully it picks up,
Yeah.
or you gotta bring something else to this that just makes it pop.
Yeah, for sure. How about the writing?
The writing seemed it seemed like the parts of Game of Thrones that were like the boring parts. There's all this like court intrigue that it just, there's got to be more action.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I wasn't sure if I was going to pick up the second issue of this, but I saw it and I was like, I'm going to keep reading it because
Give it a shot.
there's aspects about the world they've built that I really like and I'm really interested in. There's aspects about what's going on in the 2 books that really interest me. But you're right. It's like, every kind of classic, royalty story where just like 30 minutes of the hour episode is them just bowing and saying, "Oh, hello, your gracious might, king of the blah 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 blah." And
welcome to the realm.
It's just dialogue that runs for 20 pages of the comic that doesn't really matter. It's just like courtesy stuff to try to sell the world, but I think it comes off more corny than And when you have a comic where you only have so many pages to tell a story,
right,
it really slows things down. And
right, this would be the kind of thing that would be like, it would have been better if there was a book of this, where all of this stuff seems like the stuff that you would condense or cut out and like get to the good stuff.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good nuggets in it. It just it runs a bit slow. The
yeah.
dialogue is really kind of
There's
unrefined,
it
and the
seems
art
like
is
there's
a little boring.
Yeah, there's a bit bogging that issue down. It's like there's
Yeah.
something in there that's worth reading, but there's a lot holding it back.
Yeah, I'm not saying the art is bad. It's just uninspired.
Right.
It's just whatever.
Yeah. I need more.
Anything else from you?
A number one that I was weirdly intrigued by. Old Man Hawkeye.
I think this is the first like big Marvel title we've both read in a while.
Yeah.
I picked it up specifically because I liked the cover art, and I did enjoy the original Old Man Logan story. So I was curious how they were going to handle Old Man Hawkeye. What did you think?
The story. Oh yeah. The story, particularly, is I think what hooked me in this. The art style definitely seems like this is Marvel's art style currently.
Yeah.
Like everything's sharp, everything's like cut clean, fresh. We have Old Man Hawkeye who kind of looks like he's Thor's dad, at least in the face.
Yeah,
but
I feel like he just looks like almost exactly like the old Green Arrow from Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns.
yeah. That's quite the parallel to draw.
Very similar.
Yeah. But the thing that draws me in is the story.
Yeah.
And it's like as a hero, ex-hero at this point, living in a land run by supervillains.
Yeah.
And this is his story.
Yeah, I really liked it. I really liked the art in particular. I was really digging it because even though yes, it is the modern kind of Marvel clean look, it was very refined. I think it was very. I think they were doing a very good job of trying to make a good first impression artistically.
Yeah.
The story. There's a lot I liked about the story, and the dialogue is second to none. They really nailed the dialogue in a lot of places. My problem arises where it's like a few things that were kind of inconsistent with my memory of what the Old Man Logan world was like, specifically when a certain character starts talking about school
Yeah.
and like normal everyday things that you would not expect in a kind of wasteland environment run by supervillains.
Yeah, that
and
definitely
gangs.
brings into question, like, where is the world at this point? Like, at what point before Old Man Logan happens?
It takes
does
place
this?
before Old Man Logan, but it couldn't be that much before based on the things that are happening
Right.
and the people that show up. So
Yeah, there's a lot of questions left to be answered in this one,
I've-
which,
yeah.
I mean, it seems like they were doing quite a bit to just, like, serve this is what Hawkeye has had to deal with.
Yeah. But overall, I really liked it. I just think there's some inconsistencies with like the prior material, although I might be just not remembering it because I haven't read it since it came out. So
Oh, yeah.
it's been a while.
That deserves a reread, definitely.
And then the last book I got, did you read this one?
I did.
All right, Paradiso from Image, issue 2. The first issue you weren't too wild about. How'd you feel about the second issue?
This one has me a little more intrigued than the first one.
This one written by Ram the Fifth and illustrated by Devmalya Pramanik.
Yeah, I think the thing that pulls me in a little more than last time, but not much, is in the first couple of pages, it further establishes the world.
Yeah, it gives a little bit of context, which
Right.
is something that was lacking severely in the first issue.
Oh, severely lacking. And it's almost like they knew that was going to be an issue, and they further much, much better established what the world was, what the world currently is,
Yeah.
and the way that this world works. Is like it definitely has like kind of similar to the Old Man I'm going to call it the Old Man franchise.
I
It's
think
further in the future.
Marvel will start an Old Man universe.
Maybe. Although, don't do Old Man Hulk. No one needs that. What they did to the Hulk in that universe, no. But it has the same kind of vibe where it's in the future. It is like a darker, more jacked up time, and like it's survival. At the core of it, this is a story about survival.
Yeah. I kind of feel the opposite about the second issue compared to the first issue. The first issue I really liked because they introduced some characters that I thought were really interesting. They introduced this kind of mystery that was interesting. And I liked where it was going. This issue, I felt like there was more characters that were just not explained, just showing up in a place where they previously established that there weren't really people there.
Right.
Which kind of was inconsistent with the first issue. In the city called Paradiso. The main character lost the thing that made the comic interesting in the first issue. At the very end, he gets kind of ambushed and things happen based on around this by very specific, very cool, in my opinion, characters.
Yeah.
And then
Quest for the future MacGuffin.
there's things that's weird about the city, like almost supernatural, although they kind of explain it like Metal Gear Solid explains things with like nanobots and technology, science. That's why this weird supernatural thing happened. Science.
Nanomachines.
Yeah. So it's kind of that explanation. I was kind of like, oh, it's got to be the most convenient plot point ever.
It's all tiny robots.
So I wasn't wild about the second issue, unfortunately, even though I really did dig the first issue. So.
Well, I am a fan of Metal Gear, so like, there's a lot when it comes to nanomachines that I will let slide.
Clearly. Any other comics? Did we touch on everything?
I think we did.
All right. This week, unfortunately, we will not be featuring our Did the Content Match the Drapes segment. Last week, we had Batman White Knight and Phoenix, right?
Yes.
Am I wrong on there?
Yeah, it was Batman White Knight and Phoenix Resurrection.
I don't know why I'm asking because I can look this up very easily. But
It's on our website.
if you don't know, we just updated the website. I took an entire day to change some stuff. Basically, if you go to our website, htbvids.com, you can actually click on the little listing on the top left corner, and you can go to covers of the week, and you can see every cover of the week we've done since the beginning of the show, and it's broken down by year. So 2017 is all listed, and then 2018 for the current year that's going on. And last week was the Stephanie Hahn's variant of Phoenix Resurrection #3, and then Batgirl and the Birds of Prey #18 by Yannick Paquette. Those were our covers. Batgirl we're probably not going to review because it's in the middle of a series we haven't been actively reading, and
Right.
we're going to have to read 18 issues to catch up with it. So if we
Yeah.
ever get to it, it'll be a long time from now.
Maybe in a volume review.
But the cover's great, so if you like the art, go for it. And then Stephanie Hahn's, who sent out the Phoenix Resurrection #3. And shout out to Stephanie Hans, who replied to us on Twitter when we gave her a shout out on Twitter for being the cover of the week. And she actually gave us a response clearing up like how it was done and everything, because I think I speculated a little bit on like how she might have done it or whatever. We were thinking about whether it was a 3D based cover or not, because we weren't
Right.
sure. You can never tell based on the listing. You actually have to go to the comic shop and see it, as we've
Right.
unfortunately experienced in the past, which is not always a bad thing. But in this case, we got burned a few times.
Yeah, it takes a special talent to do those right.
Yeah. Stephanie Hahn says, thanks a lot. And to answer your question, this is not a 3D based cover, only good old traditional painting and a bit of Photoshop post production. So thanks to Stephanie Hans for clearing that up. We really appreciate you. And we love the cover. I promised her on her Twitter that I was going to purchase it because I wanted to review it because we already been reading it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I really love the cover. But unfortunately, I couldn't find the damn thing because everybody's buying it. So I'm going to check a few more places. I'm going to check Pat Rat Comics here in Columbus, Ohio. Laughing Ogre, great shop, but they were just sold out of it, which is my usual go-to for new comics. And then I might check World's Greatest Comics if I don't find it there, because they're also a really good shop here in Columbus. So thanks to Stephanie Hans for checking those out. I apologize we don't have did the content match the drapes, but hopefully we'll get a few more. And remember, on our website, we actually tell you if we did review it, did the content match drapes, we give you a yes or no, and whether we recommend it or not. So be sure to check out the website, HTB Vids, and then you can get to everything, our Stitcher, our iTunes, our YouTube, our covers of the week, any written reviews, any written content, all that stuff you can find right on our website. And it's very easy since we don't have a vanity URL for our YouTube yet. So
for now.
Let that rest. Now, today we have a lot of news items.
Yes, we do.
So I'm going to do my best to get through these really quickly. We'll try not to talk too much about them, but I have a feeling there's going to be some feelings about these things.
Oh, please, let's get into it.
And with that, let's get into the news. So, first up, Fox's New Mutants has been delayed by 10 months to February 22nd, 2019 from April 13th, 2018.
Whoa!
Yeah, that's a big delay, right? Deadpool 2 has been moved closer and will premiere May 18th, 2018 from its original release of June 1st, 2018, which is about 2 weeks.
So that one's moved up.
Yeah. And Gambit has been delayed from February 14th, 2019 to June 7th, 2019, which is several months. New Mutants will have reshoots to capitalize on the perceived horror style of the trailers. So apparently there's such a positive response about the horror aspect of the trailers that they decided to go full in on the horror aspect and reshoot some things and reframe some things.
I'm so glad they listened. It's like this is what I like to call committing to the bit.
That doesn't necessarily mean like the original shot was bad or anything. But
no.
That clearly they liked what they saw with the production and decided to change a few things.
Right. Committing to the bit in this case would mean taking something that seemed like it was already like mostly done and then going back and saying, let's lean a little more into this.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you took that so well. I thought you were going to be like, oh no, is it bad?
Well, here's the thing. You can release something bad and go back and try to make it good, but it's always going to have that bad first impression.
Yeah.
If you wait longer and take your time and make it the absolute best you possibly can, it just everything tends to benefit as far as like that first impression, how people are going to receive it, and most likely tell everyone they know about this movie.
Yeah. So, and for context, we have already talked about it in previous episodes. Yes, Fox did announce its plans to buy Marvel, but again, they have to get approval from shareholders on the deal, and they still have to get approval from Congress that it's not a monopoly, that they're not pulling money, that they're not doing illegal activities. And
minor correction, this is Disney buying Fox.
Oh, what did I say?
Yeah, Fox buying Marvel.
Oh, I'm an idiot.
Minor correction.
Thanks, Emery. Emery has saved me. Comment below.
Comment below on that.
But the purchase isn't going through for a while. You still probably got another year and a half to 2 years before everything's finalized, if it even gets finalized.
Right.
To begin with.
There's a lot of legal ramifications that need to be sorted out with this.
So Fox,
this is huge.
Fox is still competing with Disney proper at the moment.
Right.
So
and
be aware
again, this is not like buying them outright, but basically giving
Fox a ton of shares.
Yeah. So that they have ownership.
Deadpool 2 is being moved up to avoid clashing with Solo, a Star Wars story for you fucking nerds. No, I'm just kidding. Which was due to release the same week. So it's being moved 2 weeks ahead to give it a little breathing room, so they're not
Wait,
trying to compete with Star Wars.
hold on. You mean to tell me we're getting a Star Wars movie in the summertime?
Apparently, according to this report from CBR.com. So
Could we maybe wait?
Yeah.
It's like I know you might be rushing to.
we're not even sure if the Rian Johnson Star Wars movie is going to remain canon.
right.
I wonder what that petition's at right now.
Yeah, about
It's
that.
not good.
Yeah,
It's not good.
also, I want them to go back and take more time with this one
Yeah.
and keep it so that we consistently
And maybe
have one-
write all these stories if you're going to do a trilogy ahead of time. And
yeah,
Not just pass the baton and hope the next guy doesn't screw it up.
Yeah, like maybe read these out loud and like get like a number of people to see like just the response.
And finally, Gambit. The reason for the delay, most likely, is because Gambit has lost another director with the departure of Gore Verbinski. He is the third following Doug Lehman and Rupert Wyatt to leave the project.
Oh my god.
So
It keeps happening.
you shouldn't hedge your bets, buddy. I don't think Gambit is happening.
Oh.
They're just going to keep delaying it and putting it in production hell. And eventually they're just going to have to write it off the books.
This is going to be like the Final Fantasy of the movie industry. we're going to work on this for like 10 fucking years, even though it's only going to look like we worked on it for 2.
Yeah.
And we're going to say like this is what we could do, and you know, maybe we'll add more to it later.
Yeah.
This is-
So sorry, Gambit fans.
God. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't look like you're getting your Tatum movie. At least not in any near perceivable future.
Yeah.
Unless something very drastic happens, because 3 directors dropping out and several
3
different, executives and people on the project dropping out. It's not a good sign for any project.
No. God, what the hell is happening?
So those ones I wanted to see your
Yeah,
first reaction. So.
you know what? You know what should happen? Let Channing Tatum fucking direct this bullshit. He wants it so goddamn bad. Why don't you just hire someone who's committed?
Yeah. So we'll see.
Oh
I don't think
God.
it's a great idea in the first place, but that's just me hating on the stereotype of what Tatum plays.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be difficult for people to not think of.
Although he is a Bayou guy.
Yeah, I mean, Bayou, sure, but he's also been kind of a sometimes funny, but mostly Chachi Magic Mike type.
Yeah,
where it's
he's been
like,
playing the big, beautiful
like
dummy.
like how many times can we get him to take off his shirt and occasionally, in the case of Kingsman Gold Circle, get him to sound Southern?
Next up, Brian Bendis, as we discussed, left Marvel and went to DC. Last week we talked about what his last issues with Marvel will be.
Right.
This week we're talking about his first issue with DC, which will be Action Comics number 1000, the supersized issue that will be released to commemorate 1,000 issues of Action Comics. Probably more, but I don't think they counted the New 52 numbering or the renumberings they've done several times, which is, I think, dumb to begin with because it confuses new potential fans.
It confuses everyone.
Nobody knows where the hell to start because the numbers are in the 900s and stuff.
Yeah.
I think redoing it every time you have a new writing group or whatever or new universe is perfectly fine, but that's just my
yeah,
personal
it's-
preference. It will be a large issue commemorating the 1,000 issues, as I said, of Action Comics and celebrating with various writers and characters. The story will be isolated for the issue, and Brian Bendis will be one of the writers on it. Expect it in April.
Bendis's Superman. That's what everyone's going to think of this.
Yeah, although I suspect Superman won't be his first major project based on what Scott Snyder has been saying for the past few years.
Oh, let me guess. They're going to have him write for Batman.
I would not be surprised. That's what I'm saying. Next up, DC and WB have announced it is restructuring in an effort to streamline production for the DC EU movies. Haha. Because that's what we need. We need to churn these out faster.
Oh no!
I'll go on. They have decided to point the finger at the advertising group for the failure of Justice League, with an insider blaming the, quote, lack of Superman in promotional material. What? Are you fucking high? It did bad because the movies preceding it were bad.
If there wasn't so much expensive equipment on this table, I'd flip it. What the actual
How much
fuck?
coke are these fucking executives doing at WB?
What the actual fuck?
I feel like every time they go to a press conference, it's just taking a bump off their pinky nail and going, oh, well, you know what? It's not our fault, really. You know, people want to blame the bad CG and the really bad writing and the drastic change in direction. But you know what? I think they just I think it was really the promotional staff. They just didn't put enough extra shit in the promotions. They didn't show the, Superman, minus the mustache. All right. Yeah, we get the joke, okay? But we're professionals at WB. And you know what? I'm sick of being criticized. That's how I picture every interview.
It's more like, you want us to take our time with these? Fuck you.
God.
We need to make money.
It's so stupid. Please stop. Just stop where you're at. The actors are trying to jump off the ship. The production staff are jumping off the ship. The directors are leaving. Just stop. Just restart. It's not that hard.
This is how you know everyone is trying to jump ship. Henry Cavill prioritized his contract to a Mission Impossible movie to keep his goddamn mustache.
Yeah.
He told them, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pull up my mustache and we're going to CGI over this What the fuck, guys?
That was my most cringeworthy news item. I couldn't believe when I read that. Again, it's a reporter quoting an anonymous insider that works on the staff as an executive, but I personally was like, wow, you're going to throw your promotional staff under the bus? Your promotional staff convinced me that Suicide Squad was a great movie. That's how good they've done. And then you had the balls to blame them for your bad movies getting a poor reception after several bad movies. It's just, it's so cringeworthy. They're so incompetent. I can't believe it, man.
At least their comics are good.
Next up, Sony has just released an extremely cringeworthy promotional video of their own for Venom. In the video, if you haven't seen it, the director and the current star Tom Hardy are shown on set teasing big things and to what seems to be a painfully fake audience that I'm not even sure were watching this video when it was filmed. I think they were just cheering for something else at a convention, and they just decided to film them.
I'm pretty sure they got paid.
There was a lot of fucking people in that fucking stupid audience. And you know
to
what
watch
they show
a video
us?
about how they couldn't make it, which I understand. I do. I really do. Like when it comes to like setting up visits and conventions, sometimes these famous actors who have to fly get logged or held back because of, weather. And, weather's been kind of a thing this year.
Yeah.
With that being said, I don't know why they didn't, wait a little bit.
I thought they were going to show a trailer or something significant. You know what they showed us? They showed us still shots, a handful of still shots, one with Tom Hardy in a Venom shirt and like the fucking list of his reporting notes. And I was like, that's it? That's the big reveal? That's what this giant crowd is cheering for, and why we're cheering Venom, Venom. I'm like, what? It just seems so artificial and so cringeworthy.
If I was paid to be in that crowd, I still would have been the one guy who said, "What the fuck?"
I expected something, but apparently
We could have waited
we got a
till you
little-
had
we g-
something.
we got a little bit of a synopsis of what they're going for. Apparently, Eddie Brock is going to be like a disgraced journalist or something that's been investigating some specific thing, and
Which is- it's
somehow gets infected with the symbiote.
promising, yeah.
So
It's promising that they're at least keeping him a journalist and that they are committed to doing Venom right, I guess.
not Topher Grace,
Ugh.
fresh out of his dad's basement.
I think I threw up in my mouth a little bit. I'm sorry. That we can never go back.
So take that for what it is. If you're excited about it, I'm not really excited about it, but as long as the property is in Sony's hands, I'm just like, okay, whatever, you know.
Yeah. Hopefully, one day, maybe one day soon.
I think it would
there's
be
going to be more than just crossing over.
I think
for
it would be
Spider-Man
really
and
cool
Venom.
if they brought in like Todd McFarlane as like a guest to just, you know, discuss it. You know,
Oh yeah, they can't afford him.
and of
They'll
course
let-
Todd McFarlane's busy with his Spawn movie that he's directing himself. So,
Yeah, one day.
next up, Constantine is back.
Oh shit, boy!
Sort of.
What the? Oh come on!
Constantine is returning to television via an animated CW Siege show featuring a dark and, quote, adult-oriented Constantine. Matt Ryan will be reprising his role as the voice actor, and it will be a continuation of the NBC show. He's also making a cameo appearance on an upcoming episode of DC's Legend of Tomorrow. So,
Yeah,
I'm happy that
like-
Constantine's getting something. And they did keep Matt Ryan. They're not shitting on him because he did such a great job with the NBC show.
They know that his Constantine is perfection.
But I think it's such bullshit.
That it's animated.
Such bullshit that they're making an animated
Guys!
show for CW that is a direct sequel to the NBC show. If you're going to make an animated feature, you might as well make it unique to itself.
Right.
If anything, not be like, well, we didn't want to justify a budget big enough for a live action show, so we're just going to do this animated show. That should satisfy you, right? Happy? No, come on. Matt Ryan deserves screen time.
Right?
He's a good voice actor, but his screen performance was what sold it so well.
right. This
So,
is like
hashtag Save Constantine is still a go.
still a go. It's like if we keep saying it enough times, they're gonna finally justify. Hopefully,
I appreciate the gesture, but
I appreciate the gesture is exact.
It's not appropriate.
It's exact. That is exactly what you say when you are receiving something that you are just unsatisfied with the prospect of having. It's like, oh, we're getting it back animated. Oh, why?
Yeah.
Well, it's like why not live action? That's what we want.
So we'll see. I know I'm going to watch it, but I'm a little disappointed that we're not getting a live action sequel. They took Supergirl, which is okay, I guess, but they won't remake Constantine or continue Constantine. That seems a little silly to me.
Right. It's like
Maybe they couldn't
priorities,
cast
guys.
somebody. Maybe some people just didn't want to work with CW or something. I don't know, but I think it's really silly. So,
It hurts.
Next up, AMC has renewed The Walking Dead for a season 9. So, Walking Dead, even though it's still getting very good ratings, it's been dropping a bit and bit. And I think it's because they stayed on Negan too much. Because if you've read the comics, at least up through the Negan saga, the
Yeah.
Negan period, Negan, his part really doesn't last that long
Right.
in the comics, and the same for the governor. You know,
Oh,
they
yeah,
stretch
yeah,
out
yeah.
the governor as long as they could and milk
Right.
that for everything it was worth, to the point where everybody was like, "Okay, get on with it."
It's
And
like-
then everybody was fucking creaming their pants when they went on to Negan because they're like, something different.
yeah,
and
but
I-
now we're dealing with the same issue. It's
Yeah.
like you have kept Negan for way too long.
So I
Let him go. There are other more deserving characters at this
Yeah.
point in the story.
I haven't watched this latest season. They've had, what, 3 or 4 seasons now featuring Negan, or at least having him in the season. And not that I dislike the actor that plays Negan. He's a great actor. Not that I dislike the concept of Negan and the whole war and the situation and the stress resulting from it and all. Now they're finally killing some major characters to try to bring people back, in my opinion, not because it's appropriate to the story.
Right.
But if you're familiar with the comic, I think they were just trying to buy themselves time because they had caught up to where Robert Kirkman was approximately.
Yeah.
And now Robert Kirkman's about 25 issues ahead of him. So now maybe they'll finally
Move on
a little bit. Granted, if you're familiar with the comic, there's a large span of time after the Negan sequence and the following
the
story
following
arc.
Yeah.
So maybe they're just worried about having to age characters or whatever, or
Right.
explain certain things. So it's a tough job. I don't envy him, but the actors are still great in quality. I think the writing it's good, but it's just stretched.
Right.
They're just trying to buy time, and it's a little obvious. So the show is still great. I just need to catch up. That's all.
Oh, yeah.
So look forward to that. A lot of people were worried it was going to be canceled just because the ratings were starting to drop and people were complaining about the quality and focusing on Negan for too long.
Oh yeah, AMC is all in on The Walking Dead.
I mean, it's their cash cow, so I don't see them dropping it
Yeah.
this season, especially if not the next season. Next up, Conan the Barbarian.
Come on.
Will be returning to Marvel Comics for the first time in 18 years. Dark Horse previously owned it up until about 2003, the printing rights, and has been used recently by DC Comics for a crossover with Wonder Woman, which we talk about every once in a while.
But it goes back to Marvel.
But it is going back to Marvel, and the first comic is expected to go to print in early 2019. So if you're a Conan the Barbarian fan, look forward to that. I don't know anybody who gives a shit, personally. I have never met a single Conan the Barbarian fan. I've met plenty of Arnold fans that like Arnold as the Barbarian, but I don't know any Barbarian fans themselves. I feel like
What is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentations of the women.
I think it's just a little outdated, that's all. I think it was a very 80s thing.
I mean, it's hard not to see that as outdated because, again, it's high fantasy.
Yeah.
It's like classic high fantasy.
But it's not just like high fantasy. It's like rape and pillage women high fantasy that's not really appropriate for the modern era and is just kind of like some little boy's power fantasy or something, his little wet dream fantasy.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I just think it's a little outdated for the present day, and that's why I think the Wonder Woman Conan the Barbarian crossover is a little silly, but I haven't read it. Totally judging a book by its cover.
Yeah,
So.
like anyone who heavy metal. That one's actually French. Technically, it started out as metal hurlant. But heavy metal, specifically the animation, definitely the way, like that type of setting and making it kind of egalitarian in their barbaricness is probably the way that comic should go in the modern age.
Yeah. Next up, Wonder Woman has won the Critics' Choice Award for Best Action Film of 2017. It was the only award they won the night. However, Gal Gadot also received a #SeeHer award for her role in challenging stereotypes in the world, and I'm pretty sure they just made that up. So, congratulations to Gal Gadot.
Wait, what?
And to Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, we've talked about it. You can watch our review. We liked Wonder Woman, but it was not like a great movie. It was very good for the first 2 acts, and then all logic went out the door in the third act.
It kind of fell apart. That movie fell apart.
Yeah, there's one critical plot point at the end. all right, spoilers. You should have seen it by now. Wait,
Yeah.
wait like 5 seconds, and then the spoiler will be over.
Yeah.
But at the end, they negate all the cool messages they could have had when they make the magical veil of killing Ares remove the will of the soldiers to fight, like a haze had been washed from their eyes. I thought that was goofy. I thought it would have been so much more dynamic if they were like,
I thought
humans,
that was offensive.
humans are good, they're bad, they're everything in between. And
Right.
it's not necessarily them that's bad or this magical being that's bad. It's how they're steered, It's how people allow themselves to be controlled and how,
Right. There should have been a message of war being more complicated than blaming it on a god.
And that's exactly what I thought when they killed the guy. She killed the guy, the original general,
Right.
or whatever. I forget his name. The fucking guy.
Ludendorff.
Yeah, that whole third act was the one who didn't notice the sword he was holding on the back of her dress.
Yeah.
But,
God, that was silly.
I thought they killed him, and she saw that. Oh, they're still fighting. There's still war in the world. There's still strife in the world. What's wrong? What did I do wrong? And
It's
she
like
doesn't. She can't understand. And then she remembers Chris Pine's character. I don't know why I can't remember his name.
Steve Trevor.
Steve Trevor, thank you. I'm the DC guy, and I can't remember his goddamn name. But Steve Trevor telling her that, the world's more complicated than that, and then remembering, like, her conversation with the Native American party member who told her, oh, Steve Trevor's people did that to my people,
Yeah.
And she's like, but Steve Trevor's the good guy. How could they do such evil, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Because she's learning that the world isn't just black and white, good and evil.
Right.
There's so many layers of gray that
Right. For the first
alter the
two
path,
acts,
yeah.
that is the point.
And-
Learning that the world is more complicated.
Yeah. And I thought the direction they were going is she defeats Ares or whatever, and she learns that she has to be the one of the figures trying to direct things in the right direction, being a role model, as Gal Gadot is.
Right.
Trying to be a role model for the world of man to help them, guide them in a peaceful direction, and to not fight over things, and to, fight the evils that try to steer them in a direction that would lead to war and lead to pettiness and greed and,
Yeah.
all those sorts of things. They could have sent a really cool message about warfare and, the state of humanity, but they threw it all in the trash when the soldiers, the Germans, get up and they're just like, oh, I don't want to fight anymore. And I'm like, really? Steve Trevor just blew himself up. What the fuck? All right.
God,
But
it
again,
hurts every time I think about it.
It sucks because the first two acts were so damn good, and there were really great action sequences in it, except for the kind of no scope by Steve Trevor on the island. That was a little silly, but during a death scene that made me laugh out loud in the theater.
Yeah, that was comical.
So, congrats to Wonder Woman. I mean, there was other movies like Baby Driver and like Logan that were nominated but didn't get it. But I felt like those were better action movies than Wonder Woman, personally. But
I personally thought
I don't
one
begrudge
of,
them for winning it.
one of those two, Baby Driver or Logan.
Yeah.
More likely Logan should have gotten it.
Yeah. So, that's just my opinion. But happy to see them win something.
Right.
Just like Suicide Squad won an Academy Award.
We still have to watch that.
No, man. Next up, the upcoming Cyborg DCEU movie will be an origin movie. It has a tentative release date of April 3rd, 2020. So,
Wait a minute.
yep.
Wait a minute.
Yep.
Wait
That's
just a fucking
what I
minute.
thought.
You mean to tell me
Yes.
that we're going to have an origin movie
Yes.
for Cyborg
Yes.
that isn't the Justice League?
Yes.
Cyborg's fucking origin movie.
Yes.
What the fuck?
So, as we talked about in our Justice League review in a previous episode recently, Justice League, the entire movie is Cyborg's movie. Like, you don't realize it, but the entire plot revolves around Cyborg.
Yeah, he's literally the only one
Everybody
that
else
belongs
in that
there.
movie is basically irrelevant.
Right. Like from him showing up and like talking to his dad about,
All the
it's
way
like,
to his flaccid booyah at the end.
to his fucking flaccid booyah and Superman helping him tear boxes apart.
The solution is break down boxes. Superman and Cyborg are basically fast food workers. So, um, so yeah, I just thought that I thought it was so ridiculous when I read that. I was like, "Why? You've already told the origin. Why are you gonna make make a new movie?"
Right.
He was one of the few like good characters in the movie, at least characters that made sense in the plot. You know,
Right.
And he wasn't phoning it in, unlike a few characters, and he wasn't fucking
Drunk.
playing the wrong Alan.
Looking
so-
at you, Woody.
So I was a little surprised. I thought this is silly. So not only are we getting the streamline to get these movies out faster, because that's exactly what we want. We're doing another origin movie instead. So we're just doing what we probably should have done, last year.
I'm the Marvel fanboy, and somehow this pisses me off more than what they're doing to Gambit. What?
But
the
again,
actual fuck.
I still have faith that WB will at some point go, okay, we got to restart. People are just hating on this too much. We're not going to be able to sustain this. Fingers crossed. But there's just so much that they're talking about in production still. I'm so worried.
While your fingers are crossed, their fingers are in coke.
You're right. The thing is, it's going to we're already in a saturated superhero movie market. And
Right.
if you keep releasing bad superhero movies, you're going to kill your own market.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to recover it for generations,
This basically seems like a suicide, not even a suicide, a kamikaze attempt by WB to saturate the market with bad movies so much that people get tired of them altogether.
Yeah. So it's bad. You remember, when you release these bad rushed movies, even if you do somehow make a profit, you're just shooting yourself in the foot for any kind of future endeavors and future money-making potential.
Right. It's trying to place the money making over the much needed critical acclaim,
Yeah.
which they're not getting with these.
So you're just going to keep going down the hill, and your returns are just going to shrink more and more and more until they're not profitable anymore.
Yeah.
Next up, especially when you're spending $300 million on production. My God. $300 million.
Oh,
That's outrageous. Next up, Damon Lindelof's HBO Watchmen television series has been announced. The script is mostly finished and is expected to begin filming in 2018 with a premiere in 2019. So, if you like Watchmen, you like HBO, you might look forward to that. I'm guessing it's going to be like a prequel thing, like before the Watchmen proper comic, if I had to guess. Next up, DC has announced a series called The Other History of the DC Universe to be written by John Ridley, who is famous for writing the screenplay adaptation of 12 Years a Slave, which was originally a book, and his Vertigo comic series, The American Way, Those Above and Below. The new series will feature several characters, including Supergirl, Jon Stewart, Vixen, Extraño, Katana, and Renee Montoya, and tell stories focusing on everyday activities and issues of inequality. So, look forward to that. This one's kind of a bummer. Stan Lee has been accused by 2 in-home nurses of sexual assault and misconduct in the latest round of #MeToo incidents. His lawyer has released a statement completely denying the claims and accusations and saying they are attempts at a shakedown for money. So, take with that what you will. Take these things with a grain of salt, but it's out there. It's in the news. We might as well touch on it, especially since he's one of the comic greats. So
Yeah.
hopefully he's not living long enough to become the villain.
Oh.
That's what I'm hoping. So we all love Stan Lee, and we hope that these allegations are not true. Next up, a Kitty Pryde movie is currently in production, pre-production, I should say, with Deadpool director Tim Miller tied to the project. So, if you like Kitty Pryde,
Why?
well, I don't understand why they're still trying to make more Fox productions when they have this impending purchase that this isn't going to possibly come out before Gambit. So
yeah, no fucking way.
I think it seems a
Also,
little weird that they're doing this.
One, it's out of left field. Two, it's with like a very, very niche character.
Yeah.
And trying to give that character their own solo movie.
Do you think? I mean, Kitty Pryde has had some really good runs in different books in the past.
Right.
I mean, distant past, like what, 5, 6, 7 years ago or whatever. She hasn't been too relevant recently. Not to my memory.
Except for them making her the leader of the X-Men.
Oh, is she the leader right now?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even know.
She's currently the leader.
Okay.
Which might be what Tim Miller is banking on.
Okay.
Uh,
I wonder, do you think they'll use the X3 Kitty Pryde?
Oh, well, here's the thing with that. The X3 Kitty Pryde was the same Kitty Pryde that they used in Days of Future Past.
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot that was her.
Yeah.
For some reason,
most people did.
I thought it was Rogue doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, in the extended cut, she does do it for like the back half of the movie.
Oh, okay.
But we cut that.
As we probably should have.
Right. The biggest issue here is, one, there was already an opportunity to make a Kitty Pryde focused movie, and that was Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
That should have been her movie. But since we have Hugh Jackman, we're going to ride that train until the fucking wheels fall off.
Yeah.
And I get it. I do. I still like that movie, even though it shouldn't have been his. The other issue becomes, could you, because I know I can't, could you name any relatively famous story arcs where Kitty Pryde is the focus? Your answer is no. My answer is no. And don't get me wrong, Kitty Pryde is a great character on a team.
Mm-hmm.
Putting her by herself, there's potential, but her powers are so specific that it I don't know how they're going to do it, or how they're going to do it in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, I
and
think
is
it'll
marketable.
It'll be a little difficult to translate that to the big screen.
Is
like
like
you said, in a marketable way.
Yeah,
especially with this impending purchase, it just seems a little
Yeah,
out of left field.
yeah, and like her power is to phase through walls. The only way to make her any kind of like exciting or any kind of combat viable
Mhm.
is if they make a deep cut and access the other side of her power, which apparently we've turned the whole phasing through walls into, she's like the Vision now, where she can go either super dense or super, what's the opposite of dense?
Not dense.
Not dense. Yeah, that.
Airy. Well, no, not light because it's not weight.
Yeah, no, it is like, yeah, she turns basically whatever the fuck that word is. I know I'm going to look it up later, but whatever the fuck that word is, she can go from that to super dense, which could put her up there with like some of the like stronger or more like indestructible people, but you don't do that with Kitty Pryde. Kitty Pryde, she phases through walls. That is the power that you lean into because that is what she's been.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense to me.
We'll see. We'll see.
But then again, they've also been talking about James Franco doing a solo multiple man. So we'll see what happens.
That's another one I wouldn't expect, but who knows? Could work out.
Yeah, out of nowhere,
Could be pleasantly surprised.
we have the movie idea where we just have an excuse for James Franco to act with James Franco, and oh yeah, I forgot, James fucking Franco.
What I want is like the Fox Universe Quicksilver. I want him to have some kind of movie where he's like trying to find Magneto or something, like learn about his dad or something, and he's trying to track him down. And he goes on this big adventure with like, you know, various X-Men and mutants and stuff along the way.
Yeah,
I think you can make like a really like fun, humorous movie with cool effects, you know, based on what they did with him in Days of Future Past.
that brings up another issue. You know we have 2 Quicksilvers, right?
In the Fox universe? Just in
No.
Marvel.
We have one in Marvel,
Yeah.
one in Fox.
Well, one's dead, so spoilers for a 5-year-old movie.
yeah, spoiler alert.
Not a good one either. It was so boring. Who thought Ultron would be so boring?
He had potential, but they did it wrong.
Yeah, so that's what I would want, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Next up, our final news item is sales numbers for December. DC led sales for the month by a narrow margin. However, all comic sales saw a 10% drop year over year for the first time since 2011. And I suspect a lot of that comes with Marvel narratively being kind of weak and
yeah.
an oversaturation of variants across the board. It's just-
Yeah.
the variant covers are just, I don't know how they're selling them because a lot of them are just so boring or awful and just exploitative. I
Yeah.
love variants when they're done for a reason, when they're done well, when they're bringing in a guest artist to do something, special with the character or the story or whatever else. But that doesn't seem to be usually the case anymore.
Yeah.
Especially for the big companies, which is kind of a bummer.
It's like I can understand giving number 1s variants,
Mhm.
but when you give like up to like 5 variants for each fucking issue,
Yeah, it's just
it's
especially,
too much.
Especially when one is a blank cover.
It's,
One is literally a blank cover, and then one is like a silly like headshot profile. It's just, and then you got like maybe one good one, and then maybe like 2 or 3 like 3D gimmicky ones or something. And it's just, it's like, okay, nobody's buying all these, and you're probably overburdening your comic shops, because they're like, how do you expect us to sell these things? Like,
Right.
We're paying for these to put at our shop, and like,
it's like the only way
not
that
everybody wants these.
the only way you bank on a variant is if you think that this comic's going to be the hottest thing ever, and
Yeah,
you
and
want
you think it's
people
going to add value.
Yeah, it's like other people, like, oh my god, we ran out of all
Yeah.
of the original ones, so let's do.
And it's not even like
variants.
rare ones. It's not like 1 in 25s or 1 in 50s, 1 in 200s. It's like 1 in 5 variants that are just all over the place,
Yeah.
So it's pretty disappointing. Here's the list of the top 10 for the month of December. Number 1, Doomsday Clock. Number 2, from DC. Number 2, Dark Knight's Metal. Number 4, from DC. Phoenix Resurrection, The Return of Jean Grey. Number 1, from Marvel. Number 4 was Batman, number 36. Number 5 was Batman, number 37. Wonder what sells.
Hey, I wonder.
Number 6 was Batman, White Knight. Number 3. Number 7 was Amazing Spider-Man Cross Venom, Venom Inc. Alpha. Number 1. Goddamn, that's a long title. From Marvel. We have number 8 was Marvel 2-in-1, number 1. Number 9 was from DC, Hawkman Found, number 1, which is kind of surprising.
Was there a Hawkman Lost?
Apparently, I haven't been reading the metal stuff, so I don't know.
Uh,
I need to catch up on all that nonsense after Rebirth. Rebirth just left such a sour taste in my mouth. I just couldn't. I don't know.
also,
I had to take a break from DC proper, so I've just been reading the side stuff for.
Yeah. Also, DC, if you're listening or watching, if you don't have Hawkman Lost, I could totally come up with a brilliant idea for that. Like, where'd the Birdman go?
Michael Keaton. And number 10, rounding out the list, is Amazing Spider-Man number 792 from Marvel. So those are your top 10. Seems pretty, I think, 5 and 5 for DC and Marvel, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 6 DC and 4 Marvel, with Batman being the lead party for a lot of it. Surprise, surprise. It was the same as last month.
That's less Marvel DC and more like Batman.
Last
and
month
DC.
we had 6 Bat-related characters, if not Batman himself, on the top 10 list. So
God.
yeah,
Every time.
surprise, surprise, and we wonder why they shove Bat characters and keep creating more Bat characters as if we didn't have enough.
Right.
It's like a fucking zoo.
Ugh. It's not a zoo. It's an actual fucking bat cave. That's where DC wants to put us. They want to put us in the fucking bat cave.
Yeah. So
Oh.
that rounds out your top 10 for the month if you're into sales statistics. Pretty cool. Kind of sad that the sales have dropped a little bit, but remember last year at this time they were having the big Rebirth event and Marvel was getting over the Secret Wars and they had the fucking Hail Hydra Captain America thing going on, and so it's understandable.
There was a lot of shit going on.
There's a lot of big events. They tried to make events at the end of this year, but I don't think the events had as much weight to them.
Yeah.
So they didn't really sell too much, although I expect next year we'll probably see an increase because of Doomsday Clock and stuff like that. So
yeah,
if I had to guess. And that, my friends, is the news.
Whew. My God.
Yup.
Well, we finally come to that magic moment.
What do you think, Bob?
Well, since Bob's not going to say it, I will. What comics are we hitting up this week?
Well, Emery, I thought you'd never ask. First up, for the new releases coming to your local comic book shops on Wednesday, January 17th, 2018. And remember, we get these all from freshcomics.us, which is an awesome resource if you want to know what the new comics are going to be or what was previously in shops and what is going to be in shops. Freshcomics.us. If you don't remember the link, remember, just go to our website, htbvids.com, and you can click on the big button that says see the new comics for this week, and it takes you directly to freshcomics.us. So it's right on the homepage. First up, from DC Comics, we have Aquaman. Number 32. We have
Aquaman.
Batman, number 39. We have Batman Cross Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, number 3.
Cowabunga.
It's the second one.
Double, triple, cowabunga.
We have Batwoman, number 11. Shout out to DC this week because there's a lot of really good covers and variant covers. Unfortunately, I can't show all the variant covers that don't win the award this week, but there is some really good covers. And Batman number 39 has a really good cover, and Batwoman number 11 has a really good cover, and there's really good variants for Batman number 39. Like, just really high quality covers this week. It was a really strong week for DC's covers. So Batwoman number 11. Next up, we have Bombshells United number 10. We have the new age of DC heroes where they're adding more new diverse characters.
Yes.
So I'll be picking this up because I applaud when they, instead of ripping off old characters or changing the color /sex /orientation of currently existing characters and just putting the costume on them or something, they're making new quality characters.
Oh my God, yes.
With their own world, their own powers, etc.
Please.
So, because of this, I am buying all of these comics, at least the first and second issues, at least.
Marvel, take notes.
So, Damage number 1 is the new one. Next up, and if you want to see what these are, just check out the previous episode. We went through all the new ones that are coming. Next up, Future Quest presents number 6. Space Ghost Coast to Coast. We need a Brack comic. Next up, Green Lanterns, number 39. Yes, plural. We have Harley Quinn, number 35. We have Injustice 2, number 18. We have Justice League, number 37. We have Nightwing, number 37. Not getting fucked up on the cover this week.
Hey!
Yeah. We have Super Sons of Tomorrow, number 12. We have Superman, number 39. We have Trinity, number 17, which it didn't win our variant of the week.
It was real close.
But I have to give this a shout out. The variant for Trinity number 17, which I'm probably going to buy, is the most ridiculous but awesome cover I have ever seen. It features Superman punching a T-Rex, Wonder Woman raising her shield, fending off a T-Rex, and Batman with swords or something, fighting off some smaller T-Rexes. Meanwhile, the long neck dinosaurs that they would happily eat are in the background just watching and spectating. I love this cover. It's so goofy. I love it so much. I'm probably going to put it on our list on the website of variants of the week alongside the regular ones just because I love it so goddamn much.
Yeah, we should definitely just have a shout out section.
So shout out to Bill Shinkowitz, who has won the award in previous weeks.
Yeah.
For this cover. It's just so fucking rad. I love it so much.
I
It's
have
so
to
ridiculous. I
like,
love it.
My only belief as to why this would ever be a thing is that for some reason they're stuck in the past,
Yeah.
and Batman is somehow having flashbacks as to like watching
So when he died and became Cave Bat and fought through time.
either that or he watched a brontosaur get brutally murdered in a back alley. Like, not again.
I was a dinosaur. Now I'm a bat. So yeah, shout out to the Trinity variant number 17. I love it. I'm going to buy it if I can find it.
It is.
It's
it
not
looks
even
so much
It's
fun.
not even cartoony. It's done in a realistic,
It's-
anatomically correct style.
Oh,
it's so good.
It's so earnest that it's almost like it doesn't realize how fucking silly this is.
I love it so much.
Oh my
So
god!
shout out to DC,
Yeah.
all around great covers. And to wrap up DC, we have Wonder Woman Cross Conan, number 5. Remember Conan returning to Marvel in 2019. Next up, from Marvel, we have All New Wolverine, number 29. We have America, number 11. Remember, that's ending in March.
Thank God.
We have Avengers, number 676. We have Champions, number 16. We have Deadpool versus Old Man Logan, number 4. We have Doctor Strange, number 384. We have Generation X, number 86. We have Guardians of the Galaxy, number 151. We have Monsters Unleashed, number 10. I'm surprised it's still going.
Yeah.
There must be a continuous story. I thought it was just an event.
Right. That's what they sold it as, but it's got it. One, it has its own book, and two, it's on issue 10.
Yeah.
God
I'm
damn.
surprised.
Someone's buying this.
Next up, we have Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, number 299. We have Spirits of Vengeance, number 4, which is Ghost Rider, I believe. We have Star Wars, number 42. We have The Amazing Spider-Man, Venom Incorporated, Omega, number 1, with a pretty solid cover. We have The Mighty Thor, number 703. We have Weapon X, number 13. We have X-Men Gold, number 20. And that wraps up Marvel. From Dynamite, we have James Bond, The Body, number 1. We have Killer Instinct, number 4. We have Red Sonja, number 12. We have... I remember when Gail Simone was doing Red Sonja. I need to read those. I love... Gail Simone is a great writer.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to Gail Simone. Next up, we have Sheena, number 5, if you want some boobs in your life. We have the Librarians, number 3. We have The Spirit, The Corpse Makers, number 5. From Boom Studios, we have Adventure Time Comics, number 19. We have Fence, number 3, which has been consistently making Crossing Swords references. I haven't read it, but I have some assumptions.
Some very easily made assumptions.
I think the artist is a fan of innuendo.
There's 3 of them on the cover this time.
Oh, yeah. Nage à toi.
The House of 3?
We have Kong on the Planet of the Apes, number 3, which has a kind of interesting cover. We have Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, number 23. It's morphin' time!
Mastodon!
We have Rugrats, number 4. Maybe the Trinity will fight them in their Megazords.
the Trinity will fight them after they've been shrunk, and they fight in their toy Megazords against these tiny children.
Next up, the Storyteller, Fairies, number 2. WWE, number 13. And that wraps up Boom. From IDW Publishing, we have Assassinistas, number 2. We have Diablo House, Number 3, we have Optimus Prime. Number 15, we have Star Wars Adventures. Number 6, we have Star Wars Adventures Forces of Destiny Dash Hera. Can we shorten these titles a little bit?
Please.
And finally, we have Weird Love, number 22, from Image Comics. Image, we love what you do. Keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
We have Angelic, number 5. We have Copperhead, number 18. We have Dark Fang, number 3, which I hate to say it. I love the first issue. I was very much a fan of where it was going. Second issue completely ruined the book for me. Completely.
I don't know how they'd ever recover from that.
I couldn't believe how dumb it was. A particular part that just ruined the entire plot. So
Yeah.
that's just me. Personal opinion. Did like the first issue though. Next up, Days of Hate, number 1. Probably pick this one up. We have Evolution, number 3. Another one I should probably try to scramble and get before they're all gone. We have Kill or Be Killed, number 15. We have Ice Cream Man, number 1. We have Mage, the Hero Denied, number 5. We have Rumble, number 2. We have The Family Trade, number 4. And finally, we have The Further Adventures of Nick Wilson, number 1. From Dark Horse Comics, we have Halo, Rise of Atriox, number 5. We have Jenny Finn, number 3. And that wraps up Dark Horse. From Lion Forge Comics, we have Catalyst Prime Summit, number 2. We have Catalyst Prime Superb, number 6. And finally, we have Wrapped Up, number 4. From Titan Books, we have Rivers of London, Cry Fox, number 3. Don't read this unless you're familiar with the books that preceded it. Because we tried to read the first issue and we were just completely lost. And the main character didn't even show up. So there's that. Good art. Good art.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Robotech, number 6. And finally, we have Under, number 2. From Aftershock Comics, we have Brilliant Trash, number 3, and Jimmy's Bastards, number 6. From Vault Comics, we have Alien Bounty Hunter, number 3, and we have Zojiquan, number 3. From Archie Comics, we have Riverdale Digest, number 6. A lot of people are saying that that show's actually pretty darn good. The show based on the Archie comics, Riverdale.
Interesting.
So I want to check that out if you
might actually check that.
From Oni Press, we have Made Men, number 5. I've been wanting to read this, but I can't seem to find the early issues anywhere. I wish I had bought it when it first came out. And that is everything coming to your local comic book shops
Please support your local comic book shops.
and digital devices this week. Now it's time to hand out the prestigious, nay, life-changing award of cover and variant cover of the week.
Oh, boy.
First up for our cover of the week. Now, before I say this, really strong week for DC. Both, spoiler alert, both of the covers are from DC.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
the
like they're
DC
fighting for the title
I
right
am
now.
self-admitted DC fanboy. Emery is obviously the Marvel fanboy.
Clearly.
I verified with Emery to make sure that the choices were as solid as I thought they were. And as you know, my favorite character is Nightwing. And I tried my best not to pick Nightwing, but I think the regular cover was so strong, even without my rose-colored glasses.
They are very rose-colored. But I will corroborate. No other company this week has been as solid as DC with
Yeah.
their cover art.
It
and
was-
my God, did DC, like, we had shout-outs for DC that didn't make the cut, but none of the shout-outs that we have are for, like, any other company.
Yeah. The other
Because
companies were a little weak this
Yeah, they
was just-
haven't been stacking up.
It was so random that usually when we get good covers, they all come from all the companies in 1 week, and then the next week is like really kind of dry.
Right.
But this week, just DC loaded up, and everybody else is just kind of
Yeah.
generic stuff.
Well, Image has the luxury of being able to just rely on the fact that they're the third-party company. Each of those issues is going to have a dedicated fan base, no
Yeah.
matter what they have on the cover.
Yeah.
Marvel is kind of drunk off of their own power and hasn't really been putting in the time that DC has been putting in on their comics.
Yeah. No, I don't want to belittle the artists and writers that work at Marvel because they work hard. They put out great stuff. They're hardworking creators. We want to give them credit, but
I am the Marvel fanboy.
yeah.
As a Marvel fanboy, I can tell you unequivocally that yes, there are here and there good ones. Well, like there are some that are
Remember,
even
Phoenix Resurrection won variant of the week last week. So
it did. And when they do have the cover that's great, we recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel didn't have it this week.
So, again, I self-admitted DC fanboy and Nightwing fan, but I had Emery help me out and make sure I wasn't making the wrong choice for the
Oh, yeah.
regular cover of the week. There was a lot of strong candidates that we shouted out, but Nightwing number 37, drawn by Jorge Jimenez or George Jimenez, however he pronounces it.
Jorge Jimenez.
That's right. I used the H sound for the first name, but not the last name. That was really stupid of me. I'm so goddamn pasty.
You've already forgotten, like, maybe your 3 years of Spanish.
If you can't tell, I'm white and from the Midwest. So
I am not white, but I am from the Midwest.
I'm an idiot. So Jorge Jimenez or George Jimenez, however you pronounce it. Awesome cover. And again, we talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
For one, it's the first thing you see in a comic shop, especially if you're a new fan coming in just trying to browse and see what's good.
Yeah.
This
is-
comic stands out. It pops with the way he used the color and the orientation of the characters. And I'm sure once they add the new format that DC has had with the redesign, I love the redesign so
Yeah.
much. I still wish they put the barcode on the back, but the redesign overall is great.
It takes some notes, DC, from the what you guys are doing with Doomsday Clock.
Yeah.
Put the bar on the back.
I beg you. It's not that big a change, and it allows the art to shine even more. So
Yeah.
They have been shrinking it. I give them credit for that, but the redesign is great.
Right.
But this cover, it tells a story,
Mm.
which is the thing that always sells me. If
That
you're-
will always give you more points.
If your artwork not only stands out and inspires some kind of feeling, whether it be good or bad, bad being a relative term, but
Yeah.
maybe it makes you sad or mad or inspires you in what would be perceived as a negative way or whatever,
Right.
brings back a sad memory or bad memory or whatever, that's what art is supposed to do. And in this art, it doubles up on that by telling the story. It gives you the context because it has Dick Grayson as Robin fighting back to back, fists up with Batman, and then him walking out of the shadow of the bats, walking forward into the new light, walking forward as his own individual character. And I think it tells the story so well just with the artwork alone.
Not just that, it's true to the character, given that my boy Dick Grayson is a performer. Like, first and foremost, he grew up in the circus.
Yeah.
Like, the limelight
That's a great point.
is his thing.
It's the spotlight, yeah.
Right.
I didn't even consider that.
Yeah, it's
That's
like,
awesome.
Like, he's no longer a Robin. He's not under the shadow of the bat. This is Dick Grayson for everyone to see.
Yeah. So I can say hands down, this week has just had some of the most fun, cool covers that I've enjoyed across the board in several weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And I really love this cover by Jorge Jimenez. This is just awesome. Just told the story, stands out, beautiful artwork, great color, just all around, great job.
Well done, guys.
Next up, again, this is our for our variant of the week. Again, very strong week.
Yeah.
And we already gave the shout out to Trinity number 17 variant
Yep.
because it's so goddamn delicious from Bill Sienkiewicz.
Oh, yeah.
But this
That
week,
one almost won it.
This week we gave it to Aquaman number 32 variant by Joshua Middleton, which features Mera and a very cool artistic underwater scene where the hair is flowing everywhere. It almost looks like kind of like smeared like watercolors or oil paints, you know? I don't know if he painted it and then added some Photoshop like Stephanie Hans did with last week's cover, but it has a very unique and cool look, and you have like these kind of branches sprawling out, you know, much like her hair in this underwater environment, and just creating a very cool aesthetic with very cool lighting. You know, the light's coming up and she's kind of looking up at above to the almost like Little Mermaid looking to the surface world or something, you know.
I was going to call her a badass mermaid.
As silly as it is, but it's just a really cool cover. It conveys emotion. You know, the emotion is very clear on her face, which sometimes with comic art, it's a little simplified and you don't really get that emotion. It's just, hey, kind of look cool. You know? This one, you actually see emotion. And she even has like kind of the Renaissance art, you know, fingers, shocker. That's not what it is, but it's, if you're familiar with kind of like Renaissance art, when they draw like Jesus, he always has like this sign up of like, you know, the royalty. I think it's what it alludes to.
I think,
you know, alluding to King of Kings or whatever religious thing they're trying to project. But yeah, she's even doing that kind of Renaissance sign, which is very cool, and I'll show you examples. It's very, very good, very, very sophisticated. Very, very elegant.
Yeah.
Something I don't always say about comic covers, but this...
Right. The thing for me, personally, with this cover is that they nailed Mera.
Yeah.
Like, this is everything that you need to know about Mera, like, apart from the fact that there's the giant word Aquaman across the title. It's right there. It's right there in the image.
So, wonderful work by Joshua Middleton. Shout out to Aquaman number 32 variant by Joshua Middleton, featuring Mera, and Nightwing number 37 by Jorge Jimenez, not featuring Nightwing getting fucking murdered like every other Nightwing comic. Or Jeff Johns, I'm looking at you.
Beat the fuck up.
Quit trying to kill Nightwing.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Also,
we like Nightwing.
Yeah. Not only do we like Nightwing, but I'm going to personally say I honestly think Nera would make a better fit on the Justice League than Aquaman. Well, she's technically more powerful than him.
Unique power.
Yeah.
Whereas Aquaman is just kind of invulnerable and strong and has a...
He's a strong man with a big-ass fork.
Now, that being said, I love Aquaman, specifically the post-New 52 one with, you know, I think, was it Jeff Johns that did that one?
It might have been.
I think it was Jeff Johns that did that series. So one of the many great works that Jeff Johns has done, as much as I criticize him for shitting on Nightwing.
Sometimes he just has a hard-on for trying to kill your favorite.
But, you know, it's not to say I don't not love Aquaman, but Mera is a very cool, unique character that I think...
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah. I would love to see more of her.
Mm-hmm. There was another comic that was really good called Aquaman and the Others, where it was actually kind of a precursor to the Justice League, where Aquaman had his own kind of little ragtag group that he operated with. Yeah. I think that I wish they would bring that back. That was another New 52 title that was kind of overlooked because it was Aquaman and who they were new characters to my knowledge, and it told a really good story. And I think Mera would have been great for that crew and stuff, you know. If they had Mera lead the others, you know. But of course, Mera doesn't have the pull that Aquaman does, even though Aquaman himself probably has a kind of limited pull. So, especially with everybody trying to make a joke out of him. But again, shout out Nightwing number 37 by Jorge Jimenez. Shout out to Aquaman number 32 variant by Joshua Middleton. And shout out to Trinity number 17 variant. Our bonus cover of the week from Bill Sienkiewicz. Punching a T-Rex.
Oh,
so baller.
It's so good.
I love it.
Well done, Bill.
And for our new friends out there, this is the part of the show where we typically discuss a topic of our choosing about the world of comic books between me and Emery and maybe a guest if we have one. This week, however, I decided instead of making a separate video, which I'll probably cut out and put on YouTube, we're just going to do it as our topics, our top 10 comics of 2017 and our favorite covers of the year. So, first up, top 10 comics of 2017. Now, the reason I chose this specific number and chose to do this at all is because of a very particular tweet that was sent out by Scott Snyder in response to a Vice article, and I'll show it here on our YouTube channel. So if you're watching the video, you can read it for yourself. But basically, Scott Snyder took a screenshot of this article from Vice that said the 10 best comics of 2017 with the subtitle, "This hasn't been a great year for comics. In fact, I wasn't even able to find 10 good comics for this top 10 list." And this was written by Vice writer Nick Gazin. And Scott Snyder screenshot it and posted it and said in response, "In a year filled with new voices, daring, passionate projects from all corners of the industry, At Vice should be able to do better than this. New readers often look to big sites to find ways into comics, or you could look to Hit the Books podcast.
Oh, yeah,
We'll
can.
never steal you wrong. Hopefully.
You damn right.
Especially in tough times, this kind of incendiary move is just disappointing." And I have to say, I agreed with Scott. And we have only been doing the show proper since, I think, late July, early August.
Yeah.
I'd have to look at the website to see when the first week was. But since late summer of this year, that's when we restarted the previous show that we had tried to do, but because of life incidences, we
late
couldn't.
summer of last year.
Of last year, of 2017.
Right.
So we only had half the year to do this.
Yeah.
Less than half the year to pick titles from. So that's why we don't have a whole lot of titles that ended before that, because again, we're we're paying for everything ourselves. We don't have infinite amounts of money to read all these things
Right.
and go back and check all these things and infinite time to do all this stuff.
Right.
And we've only been doing the show proper since about late July, early August. So even with that short period of time and limited resources, we were able, between the two of us, to very easily come up with 10 comics.
Very easily.
So
yeah.
I think Nick Gazin from Vice, it's very disappointing to see that from a big news company, as Scott Snyder said, because there have been great works of art. If you don't look, explicitly at Marvel or explicitly at DC, if you can't name 10, you're clearly not expanding your horizons enough and trying new things. You're
Right.
sticking to the same old, and you're disappointed with how a particular few books went. And
Right.
after I went and read the Vice article, it seemed very consistent that was the case. It seemed like he was a guy that read a lot of Marvel and was just disappointed with Marvel and didn't really give credit to anything else. So,
Right. Not only is there one, I can understand being upset at Marvel.
Mhm.
I also have my reasons.
Mhm.
But not only are there maybe one or two things at Marvel that weren't bad, there's great stuff happening at DC. There's exciting
Image,
and-
boom, Dark
Yeah.
Horse.
yeah, all of
You
these
know?
other companies that this guy
Vertigo.
apparently just decided not to mention.
Yeah. So that's the vibe I was getting. I could be completely wrong. I don't know this writer, but I was very disappointed with the headline after I saw Scott Snyder post it, and I have to agree with Scott Snyder completely on this one. Even DC has had some iffy things going on with Rebirth and the kind of forced events with, Metal, which, again, judging a book by its cover, but it seems a little silly, but it could be good. I don't know. And then you had the Doomsday Clock and what was before that post-Rebirth thing. I can't remember them all.
Yeah.
But there has been some things that was like, But when I adventured away from the proper DC universe, there was some great stuff. And even in the proper DC universe, there was a handful of good comics. There's some great art for sure. And
Oh, yeah.
writing, there was still some great writers. There's great teams of writers, So it's just disappointing. So without further ado, let's get into the list.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to give proper credit. This is in no particular order to start off. We'll give each of our personal faves and then the overall favorite of the group.
Right.
But these are 10 of the titles we chose and their creators. First up, as much as we like to joke about this one, it actually has very good artwork and very good dialogue and writing. So,
Yeah.
Nightwing, the New Order, as we like to call Fascist Wing. We laugh at
yeah.
the concept because we think it's a little silly how it was framed,
Right.
but there's a lot of good in it.
there is a lot of good. There's a lot of new ideas explored in that one.
And this one's written by Kyle Higgins, who's written Nightwing before, and I'm a big fan of. And Trevor McCarthy is doing the artwork. So, go on.
Oh yeah. This is the type of title that the idea is controversial, which is part of the draw to it. Is like, okay, let's see what happens when they commit to this bit.
For me, the big thing is just the character they chose to do the concept. I feel like they chose the wrong character, probably because they wanted the pull of the character.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's not a bad comic. It's in and of itself. The concept is good. Just like Grayson. Grayson was a really, really good comic. I just didn't like that they chose Dick Grayson. I thought it was inappropriate. It wasn't.
Right.
It didn't make sense for his character.
Right. That was a perfect place to put in someone new, but they wanted that pull.
Yeah.
This is basically the same thing, except for we're trying to pull with someone else who isn't our main pull,
Yeah.
who would have honestly made more sense in the story.
Yeah. Next up, we have Mr. Miracle, of course, because we talk about it all the time.
Oh, you damn right we
This
do.
one written by Tom King and art by Mitch Gerads.
Jared's.
Jared's?
However you want to pronounce it.
All right.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Great artwork, great writing. This is one of the few comics that actually gave me goosebumps, man.
Oh,
I haven't
I
gotten-
remember that.
The last time I got goosebumps from a comic prior to this one was Gotham by Midnight, which was a New 52 title that focused on like the occult and stuff like that. you know,
Yeah.
and like a secret part of the Gotham Police Department that handled occult incidents. It was really good comic.
Yeah.
I loved it. And that was the last one that actually gave me goosebumps. And of all people, of all characters, Mr.
Mr.
Miracle
Miracle.
gave me goosebumps.
Mr. Miracle, thank you for literally coming out of nowhere. Thank you for that. And just wowing us. Tom King. My God.
Tom King also wrote Grayson.
Yes.
Again, very good writer. Just
Yeah.
wish he hadn't used Grayson because it didn't make sense for Grayson.
Right.
It would have been great for a brand new character, but
It would have.
obviously he probably wouldn't have got the pull. So
Yeah.
I don't blame him. Next up, we have Batman White Knight, of course, another one we harp on again and again and again. It's so good. By
Yeah.
Sean Murphy, or Sean Gordon Murphy, however you want to
Yeah.
refer to him. Art, also done by Sean Murphy, of course. This title, outstanding. Through and through. I love everything that they have done, except for one little gripe about Nightwing.
The one thing.
It's such a small thing, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But as a Nightwing fanatic, I was like, oh, you had to demote him.
They took away his
Yeah,
seniority.
he used to be senior son. Now he's later son.
They made him the middle child. Sweet mother of God. What have we done?
It doesn't spoil anything. It's just
No.
a little thing they put in there.
Yeah, it's a tiny thing that it doesn't add or take away.
But I love everything he has been doing. I love the artwork. I love the covers. I love the dialogue. I love what he did with various characters like Harley Quinn and Joker and Nightwing and Batgirl and Batman himself and Gordon and Bullock. I love everything he's been doing, and it's so creative and so fresh.
Top to fucking bottom.
It's just
This title.
10 out of 10 easily.
Oh,
One
yeah.
of my favorite comics of all time already, and we're not even halfway through it.
My only gripe with this is that it's already told me that there's not going to be more than 8 issues.
Yeah.
That like I want more. My God.
This should be at least 12 issues. Come on, give him a year.
Oh my God. Yes.
But yeah, fantastic. If you are not reading this book, you got to read it. Find it anywhere. Comixology, your local comic book shops. You know, I usually get the new issues from Laughing Ogre here in Columbus, Ohio, and then I go to World's Greatest Comics for the ones I missed.
Yeah.
Because World's Greatest Comics is really good too, and they're both close to me. So,
Yeah.
Go where you gotta go.
Oh,
Get your hands on these books. Borrow it.
Do what you have to.
Don't steal it.
Read this comic
Yeah.
book,
Pay for it somehow
please.
so the creator can get his due.
yes.
Because it really is. It's going to be super collectible. You're not going to regret it.
Yeah.
It's only going to gain value over time. No doubt about it. Next
Like,
up, we
I already want a movie of this.
next up we have a book we talked about today, Port of Earth by Zach Kaplan and Andrea Muti. This one's from Image Comics. Port of Earth, as we said, End of Watch, Men in Black, District 9.
All wrapped into one.
All wrapped into one glorious story.
Oh.
And it's very cool. It's very, very cool how they framed everything. And I love the universe they're building.
yeah.
And even at the beginnings and end of each comic, they give you like little like context for the world. Like they show you the different ships that exist. They show you the different aliens that exist, the different homeworlds, and they give you the actual like police force like files on everything.
Right. The world building is
Yeah.
what is really. This is the type of thing that only comes around like once, maybe every 5 years.
Yeah.
Like something this structured and detailed and like honest to God. Again, I can't say this enough. Committing to the bit.
Yeah, and I think this comic is unique in that from the other ones we've talked about so far, and that it is a concept that could continue indefinitely. You could make a consistent running comic out of this or TV show, whatever you want. It's built perfectly for that kind of concept. So
Right. As like to give you guys just a basic like one sentence frame up of what the story is. It's basically aliens show up and decide to share tech with Earth.
in exchange for making our planet a fuel hub, their fuel being water.
Right. And the intrigue and all of the just all of the amazingly juicy story that comes from that just as a concept
Yeah.
proceeds from that idea.
Yeah.
It's like what would
I mean-
happen if Earth, not just like a country or a set of countries, but
Yeah.
the entire planet was an intergalactic truck stop.
The thing that makes it extra cool is it almost has like an Alan Moore or Frank Miller aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like classic Frank Moore or Alan Moore. Excuse me. Alan Moore or Frank Miller aesthetic.
You're mixing them.
Yeah. Just make one creator. So yeah, like I was saying before I made Miller and Moore the same person. It has a very Miller/Moore aesthetic to the world, where it has like the press interviews and this, the cable news discussions
Yeah.
alongside the actual storyline. So yeah, Port of Earth is just, one of those really great surprises that I didn't expect to fall in love with, but
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it from the first issue on.
Yeah, it definitely works with just how they like it's world building.
Yeah.
And world building at its finest.
Yeah. And in a way that rarely happens in comic books, I think.
Yeah.
Without, 50 years predating it.
Yeah. They really, really strong start.
Absolutely. Next up, from Marvel, we have Spider-Man, Renew Your Vows. Now, I haven't read this one, but I did fall in love with the concept, and then you have read it.
Oh yeah.
Tell us why it makes our top 10 list.
Well, immediately imagine a world where things like One More Day never happened. Imagine a world where Peter Parker and Mary Jane made the logical decision to become married, and the devil didn't get in the way of it.
It's such a stupid storyline.
It is.
Yeah.
It's dumb. I can't believe it's a thing.
Not Renew Your Vows. One more day.
Yeah, like actual canon for Spider-Man is really silly. But I digress. Renew Your Vows is a wonderful story about what happens when you take Spider-Man, his wife, Mary Jane, who in this case has developed spider-like powers, and their child, what would they do? They would obviously take this child who gets their powers because of, genetics at this point.
It's the Partridge Family, but with Spider-Man powers.
Pretty much. They take them over to Xavier's school. I mean, that's just what you do.
Yeah. It is the logical decision.
Oh, yeah. But, of course, because it's the Xavier School for the Gifted, there's a lot of baggage that goes along with that.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, that school gets attacked. Like every other week. And yeah, it's a story that it's a love letter to all of the people who had grown up with Spider-Man, had, liked what they were doing with him as he got older and was became something of like a teacher, and like he wasn't just a perpetual, like almost broke photographer the whole time.
Yeah.
There's like acknowledging that character development and letting it, take its proper course.
Mm-hmm. See, I like it a lot for the family dynamic. I like how it lets a hero actually have a future that isn't some dystopian wasteland.
Yes.
Where, as we typically get from everything, they actually have kids and a wife and a life outside of being a superhero.
Right.
And, they have real world development and character growth and,
Yeah.
and then they have to navigate being a parent instead of, just fighting generic villain A who killed their child in a tragic way or, that
right.
sort of stereotype, from comic books. So I really love the aesthetic, and I think even recently with the kind of next generation of Batman, they've kind of dabbled a little bit in that themselves. With Batman Annual #2, if you read it, is one of our covers of the week.
Batmanual.
Batman, but it gave a hero you expect to be eternally brooding and just always in a dark, dark place, to never see the surface and never, get married or do anything outside of his own obsession. Actually gets to be a human being for at least briefly. We'll see how long it lasts.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of that concept. I want to read these books. I need to read these books, but I just never get around to it. So
yeah.
Next up on our list from Image, Maestros, which is a book that totally caught me, came totally out of left field, and I love everything about it. It's the most awesome, ridiculous adult comic.
Oh,
do not let your young children read this comic, as colorful as it is.
Yeah,
very
18 years old or
jokes
above.
And gore and everything above.
Yes.
It's a very, very good comic. And this one, Maestros by Steve Scroce and Dave Stewart, who do an awesome job with the dialogue and just the storytelling and the visual aspect of everything. Every cover looks cool and collectible, and just I love this comic. Maestros on Image is just, it's so good and so crazy and so just wonderful in every way possible.
Yeah. Maestros is a very special kind of wonderful.
There's some kind of wonderful.
This is the kind of comic that, it comes out of left field. It takes you by surprise. And knows exactly what it's doing.
See, it's like a comic that, imagine if Will Ferrell came out of nowhere and just took off a white leather glove and slapped you across the face with it, challenged you to a duel in a fantasy world. That would almost give you the emotional impact that this comic does.
That almost scratches the surface of the type of ridiculousness
in a good
and
way.
Hilarity
it's
that,
so
that
good.
ensues in this comic.
And it actually has good world building, which you wouldn't expect from such an over the top.
Right. There's there are things that this comic manages to do that On the premise, it doesn't seem like the comic would ever try to go that deep,
Yeah.
but it does effortlessly.
Oh, so deep.
Phrasing.
Lana. Next up on our list, we have from Vertigo, Imaginary Fiends.
Oh, yes.
Imaginary Fiends from Tim Seeley, another great writer that I'm very familiar with as a DC guy, and Stephen Molnar, who's another artist I'm very familiar with and a big fan of his work. Imaginary Fiends is another book that just the premise works so well. The art is fantastic. The visual ideas they create with the imaginary fiends, it works
Yeah.
perfectly. The first issue sets up the world very quickly, and it sets up an environment where you can either have one big crazy story arc, or you can have just a sequential series, very much like X-Files or something. And it just like Port of Earth, you could do whatever you want,
Yeah.
and I love everything about it.
Yeah, this definitely had, for me, an X-Files meets Supernatural
Yeah.
type vibe to it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's only been 2 episodes in 2017, or 2
Two
issues,
issues.
and
we
might as
say-
well be episodes.
Yeah, we say
Two.
episodes because this could totally be a TV show.
But it's so good all around, and it's built so cleverly and so well. It just, I don't even know how to phrase my pleasure with this comic because it's so good, and it's going to be one of those headlining books for their kind of relaunch of Vertigo that DC has been planning for this year, for 2018 going forward. So
Yeah.
really, if you're not picking up this book, it's not that deep into it yet. Pick it up. Try to find these issues. It's a
Yeah.
Vertigo title, so of course it's not selling gangbusters. So you can still pretty much find a lot of them. Get them now before word of mouth gets too far, and they're collectible because it really is very good. I mean, just to give you a quick synopsis, it's a comic where it's kind of like a horror / investigative, kind of mystery / adventure type of story
Yeah.
set in the real world, but apparently imaginary friends are not necessarily fake. And in this case, they kind of cling to children and their fears, and then some will actually grow from feeding off that child's fear and feeding into it and become these big grotesque monsters that only specific people, usually people that have an imaginary fiend of their own, or children, can really see. And basically the government has their own kind of investigative branch to prevent things that, and that like murders and
Right.
all sorts of crimes that these fiends and their hosts can commit and subject to people to. And it's really good. It's really awesome. It's like Digimon for horror fans or something. It's really cool, and the main character is really interesting, and this supplementary characters are really interesting. I really like the vibe they're going with.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Next up, sorry.
I was going to say just like with Port of Earth, it can go anywhere because of like the nature of how it's set up. It's like you take that main character and make them an investigator, which just gives you the freedom to, much like Digimon or Pokemon, just creature of the week type deal.
Yeah.
Possibly.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
It's good, great all around. Great dialogue, believable dialogue.
Yeah.
Awesome world, awesome characters, awesome artwork. Just love the book.
Yeah, pick it up.
Next up, this one's a weird one. I don't think people would expect this one. X-Men Grand Design, it came late. I think both the first and second issue were released in late December.
Yeah.
Back to back. This is a weird one because it's a book by Ed Piskor. He's basically taken all of the different eras of the X-Men and retelling the major storylines from the X-Men in these big, thick, awesome books. And picking it up, it looks like a classic book. The artwork on the side kind of has that yellowed, like pastel nature like the kind of old comics did.
Yeah.
And then the inside, even the paper, the physical paper is different. So this is not one I would recommend get on digital. Pick it up physically because it's so cool and so unique.
Oh yeah.
And it adds to the aesthetic. The paper, how it feels, how it smells, the colors they use, the pigment they use. It looks like everyone looks like this specific era of the
Yeah,
X-Men.
It's like it definitely has the air of being like the biggest callback you could probably make
Yeah.
in comic book form.
Yeah, it's very much told like historical narrative fiction. Like, one of my favorite authors is Alan W. Eckert, who writes narrative historical nonfiction books. So it's written like a storybook, so you're seeing things from the perspective of the characters in third person or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're all factual. It's factual history that's going on. And he writes like The Frontiersman and Wilderness Empire and these great history books. It's kind of like that, but with comic storylines, and it's really cool. And the way he explains it, it's told from a more modern perspective, and the way that's explained is it's the Watcher explaining to the character, the Recorder, what happened after he had had time to digest all the events and see the events through to their ends and give context to the events from the beginning to end. So it's not the old stories retold exactly verbatim. It's retold with the modern narrative, visualization of these past stories. And it's really excellent. It's great. I really loved it, and I was very surprised because I picked it up. I thought it was just a collection of like old stories. No, it's actually a unique thing in unto itself with a very well done classic vibe. And they're thick books. It's a lot of content.
Yeah, that just from the description that you've made, this is definitely a book that I want to pick up.
Yeah.
I got to read a little bit of it, and it's a lot to, I don't want to say get used to, but more like readjust to, because
I had
like,
that same experience.
yeah, it's very much like it's done in the old way, and I mean, more power to them for that, because it feels like you're rereading like a condensed version of history.
Yeah. It's exactly how I felt, and it was really cool, really, really well done by Ed Piscor and Marvel there. Next up on the list, this one, another one that didn't have too many releases in 2017. I think it only had 2, but I had to mention this one because they did it so well, and they did it in a way that I really love and appreciate. Witchblade, which is I believe another Image comic. Witchblade, done by Caitlin Kittredge and Roberta Ingranata. Again, we talked about this earlier. They took a comic that was almost a joke in the comic book world for being exploitative and just like a boob, cover
That's a
comic.
Boob comic.
We sell the covers with our naked women and not necessarily our story prowess, even though they had some decent stories, but it just got overshadowed by the fact that it was a boob comic.
It sounds like Fathom almost.
Yeah. But in the initial issue, there was an interview with Caitlin Kittredge. I'm mixing her name together, mushing it together, and Roberta Ingranata, and they were talking about how they wanted to, be respectful to the original material, but bring it back in a way that can be appreciated by modern audiences. And they self-proclaim themselves as like a feminist and wanted that sort of mantra and more relevant material for the characters.
Right.
And some people might roll their eyes, hearing that or whatever, but they did it in a well-executed, perfect way. They did it very well. It's not in a way that's like preachy and like roll your eyes like, oh, not this shit again, It's like, we get it. We're not 80-year-old presidents.
Right.
We get that you can't say certain things, we can't do certain things in a story. We're not grabbing them by the pussy anymore, okay? Those
days are over.
Those generations are not around.
Yeah.
Or hopefully, maybe won't be around too much longer. But
the big thing about this
one,
reboot,
it's so good.
Yeah, this is this is how you reboot something like Witchblade. This is what happens when you have someone who, yes, they're feminist. They're trying to do respect to this story. And to their credit, they managed to, and mind you, this is just from me reading the second issue. I for some reason, read the second before reading the first.
That was my fault. I
yeah.
got it in wrong.
Yeah. Anyway,
Shame on me.
yeah, we'll fix that later. They rebooted this in a way that served the story as opposed to trying to like forward their own personal agenda,
Yeah.
which that is how you do this. This like if you want to change a character but still, keep the core of this character and the story intact, all you have to do is serve the story.
Yeah.
That's all you need. It's like literally all they really had to do was put clothes on the main character.
If
and
if you
actually,
cre- if
make her an investigator. But
if you create good content, the people will follow your message.
yeah,
If you try to force a message into content that's not good, in a story, in an environment, in a universe, in a art style that's not good, that's just overbearing and trying to force these things, even if I completely agree and I'm totally echo chamber
right.
tunnel vision in on this concept, if it's forced down my throat, I will still just be like, ugh, just stop, and I think there's some titles I'm gonna call one out. Number One with a Bullet is one of those titles where great concept to begin with, very fun artwork, very cool art style, decent dialogue, but then at the end of every issue it gets super preachy and starts pushing things, and then the whole end of it is just like condemnation from the writer of certain aspects of our society that I personally feel could be solved by just not being on social media, but that's just my opinion.
No big deal.
And it sucks because I wanted to continue with that, but it was so forced. Both the first, second, and I think third issues of what I read, I gave it so many shots, but every issue would do the same thing. It'd start great concepts, redeem itself a little bit, flesh out the story, again, great concept, and then at the very end it would do something. It would turn heel and completely change what it was doing with the rest of the issue.
Yeah.
And to get up on a soapbox and preach some kind of thing, and then just to rub it in even more and be like, hey, look at me, look what I'm doing. I'm, so and so
right.
vigilante / martyr. Here's something that's wrong with our society for 3 more pages. It's like, okay, now that makes me like, even if I agree with everything you're saying, it rubs me the wrong way. It's too maybe aggressive. Is that what I want to say? I don't know.
You know what happens when you try to shove something down someone's throat? They tend to puke it back up because it's being forced.
I mean, I know some of the most religious people in the world, but when some person comes to their door trying to, give pamphlets for their church or whatever, they're just like, leave me alone. It's not that they disagree with them or dislike them. It's just,
right.
It's distasteful.
Yeah, there's a different way of going about this.
Create the art, create the concept, create the good story, focus on that. And if the story is good, it should relay your message by itself.
Right.
You don't have to force it. And I think that's what Number One with the Bullet did. And that's what Witchblade does not do and executes perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
The artwork is wonderful, inside and out. I couldn't ask for a better comic about Witchblade of all things.
Right.
It totally caught me off guard, and that's why I have to include it for the best comics of 2017 for us.
Right.
And finally on the list, we have Wildstorm from Warren Ellis and Tom Davis Hunt, which is a DC comic that started in February that brought back the classic Wildstorm team and Grifter. Because I love Grifter.
Buddy.
Now, Wildstorm is a very unique, kind of lesser known kind of superhero / secret soldier group type of thing. Sometimes it's a government thing, sometimes it's not. This title in particular seems to go back and forth sometimes. But it's a well written story with really cool characters that don't usually get the limelight very often. And New 52 tried to give them some limelight, especially with like Future's End. Grifter got to show a lot in the Batman Beyond universe. But this book, Wildstorm, just fleshes everybody out so well, and there's spin-off issues because it's so good. Like Michael Cray, which I don't think is as good as the main Wildstorm book, but it's okay. Yeah, Wildstorm itself was great. Artwork is great. The covers are really unique. It's not what I expected from DC at all. It looks a lot like Image covers.
Yeah,
It was not what I expected from DC at all, and I suspect that it's going, like Mr. Miracle, going to be on the Vertigo line before too long, and that's why it's a little different. Ragman too.
yeah.
Ragman's another one, which is a pretty decent cover. Didn't make the top 10 list, but another pretty good title from Vertigo / DC. So just want to give Wildstorm that last shout out, and that wraps up our list. Didn't seem very hard. I mean, we knocked that out pretty quick. So
Yeah.
that Vice writer might want to reevaluate how he handles his career in reviews and
Right.
journalism, because even if you're not like thrilled with the year, you could still come up with 10
Right.
unique artist writers that came up with cool concepts, ideas, had good dialogue, had good art, and
Out of about a
he-
couple hundred different titles, he couldn't pick 10.
he put an entire
Wow.
industry on blast publicly,
Yeah.
with a very large soapbox.
Oh,
And,
yeah. The
I-
backlash on that
I think
ought to be huge.
I think Scott Snyder was absolutely justified in calling him out for it, and I intend to tweet him about this episode.
Oh, please
After
do.
I cut this out. So, once again, making sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, we gotta pick our individual favorites and then our overall favorite.
Of course.
So, Emery, what was your overall favorite?
my overall favorite, Mr. Miracle.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise. My God. There's something to be said about the out of left fucking field nature.
All characters.
Right.
All characters.
Like with the one character that across the fucking board, a year ago, anyone who would have been asked about Mr. Miracle would have said, who?
The goofy looking guy with the big collar who, escapes from stuff.
Which
wait,
one?
What? That's a superpower? Oh yeah, and he's a god. What?
What?
So,
Yeah, like, is he the god of escaping, or is he escaping and he's just a god? What? I don't understand.
yeah.
Yeah, the out of left field nature combined with the fact that this writer is top notch.
Mhm.
This guy,
Tom King's killing it, man.
this guy knew how to take a character out of relative obscurity and shine a light on this character in such a way that really made you feel as though, like, why haven't I been reading more about this character? Why
Yeah.
hasn't this character in all of DC Comics been more of a thing?
Yeah. And I don't think we can overlook Mitch Gerad's contributions, because as great as Tom King's storyline and outline is, it's the panels that really sell it. The kind of staticky aesthetic that they have every once in a while when something
Oh.
weird's about to going.
Oh
And
yeah.
the whole dark side is just complete blackout, and the conversational stuff he has with Big Barda, that sprawls the entire page.
Yeah, I do want to mention that the way that this comic has been paneled is in a way that, for those of you who purchase your comics through your phone or whatever digital device you view it through,
Mhm.
this one is in a way kind of catered to you with the way that they have paneled everything.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, which for how comics as a whole are growing to where it's becoming more and more digital content,
Mhm.
it's definitely to its credit.
I feel like on some pages, if you're reading it digitally, you could literally just click it really fast, and it would be like a stop motion, animated style.
Yeah,
Because they're so like one after the other.
yeah, in a few sequences, I could see that working.
Yeah.
But my God, I remember actually reading issue 1 digitally, and I did. This was the thing that tripped me out, was the chills that you got. I think I was only able to get those from reading it digitally, specifically for the panels where it was just Darkseid is.
Yeah.
It was like
The
going
first
from one
issue
panel.
did that so well too.
Yeah,
So
going
well.
from like one of the panels to just like Darkseid is like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, I would totally agree with that. This comic, as great and as collectible as it's going to be, it's probably slightly better and more impactful as a digital read, just
Yeah.
because of the way how the art aesthetic is and how the panels are organized.
Yeah.
And it really does sell Darkseid is.
Oh yeah,
Again,
it does.
this comic gave me goosebumps. Like literal physical I get goosebumps thinking. I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it, remembering it. That's the
Ooh.
sign of a good piece of art.
Oh my God.
So,
Yeah.
definitely check that out. My personal choice was Maestro's.
Of course.
It's just so right up my alley. It's the perfect combination of fantasy with ridiculous, outrageous adult humor. With
Speaking of characters who are basically the son of God.
like outrageous, just well done moments and great world building too.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, I couldn't ask for anything better. It just caught me so off guard. I absolutely love Maestros from Image. It's just so good.
I think the thing that really sells that book is not only is the imagery fucking bonkers and off the wall a lot of the time and insanely detailed,
Yeah.
it's to its benefit, it's paired with writing that does a lot of world building, but at the same time is uniquely relatable.
Yes.
Yes. It's like I feel for this main character.
Yeah.
This guy who's like in this world, the son of like a creator of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also this person who grew up as a fat kid who was bullied,
It's so good.
who had the unfortunate bad luck to walk in on his mom and his dad fucking.
His dad being the god of everything.
Yes. Yes, it's like he walked in on that and I think was literally struck blind.
Oh,
Like,
it's so
Not
good.
figuratively, like literally struck blind.
So ridiculous. It's so good. Please, if you are over the age of say 14, 15 and you can pick this up, pick it up. I would recommend physical, but because there's some page turning moments where you like the way it's made, it's just like, oh my, they did it.
Oh
They
my
really
God.
did it.
It's like,
Um,
no. Oh my God!
In a good way.
Yeah, in
In
a
the
good
best way.
In the best way imaginable.
So big shout out to Steve Scroce and especially Dave Stewart, who does puts so much detail into every one of those panels, man.
Oh my God!
It must
yeah.
take him forever to do that book. But it's such a good product. So
Yeah, the level of detail I'm going to say is on par with Juan Jose Rip.
woo, that's lofty.
Ooh, my God! Yeah, like if any minor plug, Black Summer. If you haven't read it, read it for the love of God. It's that good. It's only like 6 or 7 issues, but it's 6 or 7 issues of pure deconstructive genius.
So that brings us to our overall book
The one
of
that
the
we
year.
agree.
Book of 2017, comic of 2017. Take this, Vice, you dicks.
Yeah. Knock down, drag out, hands down, unequivocally, unabashedly, This is number one.
Should we try to say it at the same time?
I think we should.
Batman White Knight by Sean Gordon Murphy.
Oh.
Sean Murphy, all right. He fucking kills this book. And he does it all himself.
Yeah.
You know, besides probably coloration, I would guess.
Yeah.
And lettering. It's all him. He
Yeah.
writes the dialogue. He wrote the story. He's known for being an artist, a great artist. He does it all, man.
This guy has managed to
DC
take,
better pay him well.
This guy managed to take a character that I thought honestly had been getting about as tired as Superman, given like the duration and longevity.
You don't like having 2 issues of Detective Comics and 2 issues of Batman and Batwoman and Batman in the Signal and Batman and Robin and Batman's Justice League and
and a dark universe where
Batgirl
everyone's a Batman.
and Nightwing and Super Sons featuring Batman's son and should I go on?
No, no, DC, stop.
Batman's great, but goddamn, I need to chill out.
Like that, you have other characters. Ant-Man was great. Bring him back.
Everybody doesn't have to be a bat thing.
Right. That's why I'm looking forward to the new line of like new characters coming out.
Yeah, yeah.
My God, we need it.
The
but-
new phase of DC heroes.
Yeah. Batman White Knight manages to take the entire concept of what the Batman comics have been
Mm-hmm.
and completely turn it on its fucking head.
I mean, it plays with your expectations. It plays with what you know. In a good way, in a way that's not like insulting, you know, to your intelligence or something.
Right.
It makes sense.
Right.
And it's such a cool concept, and it even relates to like it almost breaking the fourth wall. It relates to things that people are concerned about in the real world about these characters in this world. You know?
Right.
It's so intelligent. It's so clever.
Right. This is actually one of the first books that not only acknowledges some of the things that wouldn't make sense, but it actually comes up with a good reason as to how any city would let someone like Batman exist at all.
And how they would clean up.
Yes. Also, breakout character, Jack Napier. For those of you familiar with the 1989 movie Batman, starring Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson, Jack Napier is, for that movie, the real name of the Joker. And this comic runs with that.
Mm-hmm. And I will say this: I am on the record saying this in the past. I don't know if the current iteration of Hit the Books, but definitely in the former Hit the Books.
Yeah.
I am on record saying that it annoys me when people try to give Joker an origin story
Right.
or something of that sort. To me, it's just like it takes away what makes Joker so scary.
Right.
But this one pulls it off so well because it's not about like making Joker menacing.
Right.
It's about making Joker intelligent and cunning and strategic and almost human.
Right. This is about making the Joker, and I'm not even going to call him Joker anymore. I'm calling him Jack Napier because in this comic, the Joker is a past event. Like this is a story of what happens when you somehow manage to get rid of the Joker in the only way that Batman would ever allow.
Mm-hmm.
Medication.
Mm-hmm. And even with that, it's so he does things from time to time that just makes you question, like, is he really? Is this all just an elaborate scheme?
Is this the long con?
Yeah, is this the long con or is this legit?
Yeah.
And what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Is this all just one well orchestrated plan to fuck with Batman just one more time? It's so well done. It's so clever. I can't recommend it enough. Batman White Knight. If you're not reading it, you have to read it. I can't tell you any more than that. If there's any comic from 2017 that you need to be reading, it is Batman White Knight.
Batman White Knight. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this is probably the best story that Batman has ever gotten.
I don't think you're wrong. It's really good.
I mean,
So far.
It's so far.
It's about halfway through, but
So far,
so far.
I would put this on par with Nightfall.
Mm-hmm.
I would put this on par with anything having to do with Batman.
Hush.
Hush. Anything having to do with Ra's al Ghul.
Mm-hmm.
Anything having to do with actually the Court of Owls.
Death of the Family.
Yeah. There are a lot of like long-term story arcs that they've done with Batman.
Yeah.
And in like 4 issues so far, this one has managed to take all of those, understand what those are,
Mm-hmm.
and surpass them by getting you to acknowledge the honest question: why Batman? Why? Like, why, of all of the things that we try to do or try to allow, or like all the things that we would want or think that we need in a city,
Mm-hmm.
why a person dressed up as a bat running around with the most expensive gear,
Destroying the city with its tanks.
destroying half the city, most likely, because no one drives around with a tumbler and comes clean out of a city. That's just that is not how that works.
Yeah.
Specifically with a town like Gotham.
I don't think Batman's stopping at red lights too often.
Oh, hell no.
Especially not this Batman.
Oh, yeah, no.
So, yeah.
No, also the reality of what it would mean for someone like Batman to have spent years, most likely a decade,
Mm.
or a little more than a decade at this point, punching strangers in the face.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you have it, folks. Our top 10 list. Just going to run through them really quickly for you, and then our particular personal choices.
Oh, yeah.
Nightwing, The New Order, Mr. Miracle, Batman, White Knight, Port of Earth, Spider-Man, Renew Your Vows, Maestros, Imaginary Fiends, X-Men Grand Design, Witchblade, Wildstorm. Emery's personal choice, Mr. Miracle. My personal choice, Maestros, and our overall great choice, Batman, White Knight. Take that advice. We got your back, Scott Snyder.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you never see this. And great work by all those creators. It's just awesome, awesome stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And we really didn't have to think that hard.
No.
It's coming from a very limited pool.
With our limited
with
pool,
our
we
limited
easily
budget
found
and limited
10.
time frame.
Yeah.
Next up, we got our favorite covers of the year. Again, you can go to htbvids.com, just click the little menu tab and click covers of the week, and then you can click 2017, 2018 to see what's currently a cover of the week and what was formerly a cover of the week. So let me get into 2017. I'm going to run you through all the 2017 covers of the week. Again, you can check out htbvids.com. An easier way would actually be to go htbvids.com/the year. So if you go htbvids.com/2017, it will take you directly to the covers of the week for 2017 and vice versa for 2018. So starting from episode 1, we have Aquaman number 26, covered by Stepan Sajic, and the Art Germ variant of Astonishing X-Men number 1, covered by Stanley Lau. Next, for episode 2, we had The Punisher number 14 by Declan Shalvey. And our variant was Edge of the Venomverse number 3, Lim variant by Ron Lim. For episode 3, we had Jessica Jones, number 11, cover by David Mack. And our variant was Justice League number 26, Paquette variant, cover by Yannick Paquette, who I believe won one of our covers last week for Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, I think. For episode 4, we had... I'm stupid. I didn't put the title on the website, so that I got to correct that. I think it was Astonishing X-Men. I don't remember what cover title. I'll write it here on the episode on YouTube. And that one was done by Mike Diodato Jr. And then the variant of the week was the Dark Knights Metal number 1 Jim Lee variant, featuring Wonder Woman kicking some ass.
Yeah, I think they are.
From episode 5, the cover of the week was Nightwing number 29, cover by Stepan Sajic, who was also week 1. Stepan Sajic making a lot of appearances.
Oh, yeah.
And then the variant was Invincible Iron Man number 11, cover by Adi Granoff. Episode 6, cover of the week was Gotham City Garage number 1, cover by Raphael Albuquerque. This is not a good book.
Don't read it.
Beautiful cover. The illustration and the inside and the writing and the dialogue is just so it's pretty bad. The plot's bad. It's just not good, unfortunately. But it's based on a toy, so what do you expect?
Right.
And then the episode 6 variant was Mr. Miracle number 3 variant, cover done by Mitch Gerards. Episode 7's cover of the week was Maestros number 1, cover by Dave Stewart and Steve Scroce. Episode 7 variant of the week was the Batwoman Cho variant from Michael Cho. Episode 8 cover of the week was The Unsound from Boom Studios, number 5, cover by Jack Cole. And the variant was, again, from Boom Studios, The Power of the Dark Crystal, Takeda variant by Sana Takeda, who's famous for her Monstrous series, which is beautiful. Wonderful artwork. Episode 9 cover of the week was Batman White Knight number 2, cover by Sean Murphy. And the episode 9 variant of the week was Dynamite's The Shadow, cross Batman number 2 from Philip Tan. Episode 10 cover of the week was Titan Books Rivers of London, Cry Fox number 1, cover by Lee Sullivan and Luis Guerrero. And the variant of the week was Moon Knight number 188, Sienkiewicz variant by Bill Sienkiewicz, who also makes frequent appearances on our covers of the week. The raw artwork was very good, but when we went to buy it, it was a 3D cover, and the 3D was executed very poorly.
Oh.
And I literally liked the advertisement on the back more than the cover, and I framed the advertisement on the back.
Yeah,
if that tells you anything. So it is marked revoked.
Yeah, that was a cover that hurt me.
Unfortunately, when we see the listings, we can't tell if it's a 3D variant or not. So when we go to the shop and if it's a 3D variant, that's fine as long as it's executed well. That one was not executed well. Episode 11 cover of the week was Batwoman number 9, cover by Fernando Blanco. And episode 11 variant of the week was IDW's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 76, 1 and 25 variant from creator Kevin Eastman. I really like that one. Episode 12's cover of the week was Vertigo's Imaginary Fiends number 1, cover by Richard Pace. And the episode 12 co-cover of the week, because I guess the variants were pretty weak that week, was Dark Horse's Angel Season 11 number 11, cover by Scott Fisher, which just has such an awesome aesthetic and great colors. Episode 13's cover of the week was DC's Batman Annual number 2, Batmanuel.
Batmanual?
Cover by Lee Weeks. And the episode 13 variant of the week was Image's Spawn number 280, Alexander and Walcott variant, cover by Jason Sean Alexander and Denora Walcott. Episode 14 cover of the week was Marvel's Hawkeye number 13, cover by Julian Totino Tedesco. And episode 14 variant of the week was DC's Nightwing number 34, Putri variant by Yasmin Putri. Episode 15's cover of the week was Vault's Reactor, number 3, cover by Dylan Burnett. Episode 15 variant of the week was DC's Wonder Woman number 36 Friezon variant by Jenny Friezon. And finally, the episode 16 cover of the week was Marvel's Tales of Suspense number 100, cover by Marco Cicchetto. And episode 16's variant of the week was DC's Batman number 37 Coipel variant, covered by Olivier Coipel. So some really awesome covers. Again, I really insist that you take a look at our website. Again, no advertisements or everything. We're not financially benefiting from this. This is for your benefit. Some of these covers are just so great, and it's great to see them all together. There you can see all the creators, the writers, the illustrators, all listed for you. And once I update it, it'll tell you whether the content matched the drapes for each one that we reviewed and are going to review. So that'll tell you whether you want to pick it up for the story as well as the beautiful cover art.
Oh, yeah.
We each picked our own personal favorite of the year, and then we have an overall voted favorite between the two of us. Emery, which one did you choose?
Out of all of those covers, I do have to say Batman White Knight number 2.
Detecting a theme, there seems to be a very successful book of 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when you pair a great writer with a great artist, that's one thing.
Mhm.
When you have some guy who has a singular focused vision and is capable of executing that in both the writing and the art by himself,
Yeah.
it shines. It absolutely shines through. It also helps that to further flesh out this entire, like, why you should buy Batman White Knight, this issue 2 in the cover sets up one of the concepts that people have kind of been playing with, like, a little bit before and also in a lot of ways since the movie The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Just how attached to Batman is the Joker. This cover answers that by saying, this guy would have a fucking shrine to him.
Yeah, and it's something I harp on all the time. You know, if for a cover to not only be really good technically and visually, it's got to tell a story with the artwork alone. And your pick perfectly illustrates that. It tells a story just with the artwork. This man who is just, the coattails of the Joker combined with the mad way he's holding his hair, just facing, almost praying at this shrine to Batman he has created because he's just so obsessed. It engulfs his entire life, and Batman over him, just darkly shrouding him, engulfing everything that he is, and his entire existence revolves around this one person.
Like, with that image, you can say wholly and completely that this is a person who considers their own existence incomplete without this other figure.
Mm-hmm. And it even put in a few Easter eggs in that cover too. If you look real closely, there's some famous things from Bat history. That are pretty cool.
Some gems for those who should buy this book. You should buy this book.
So take a closer look at that if you got the time.
Oh, yeah.
It's very, very good. Next up, mine. I had so much trouble choosing just one because there were some really good ones, even though we've only been including picks from late July
right
through to the end of December, and we skipped a few weeks, with Christmas and I think a few other things. So I had a really tough time, but finally I chose episode 3's variant of the week, DC's Justice League number 26 Paquette variant. Yannick Paquette, who consistently does great work, and we seems to appear on our lists both this year and last year. Paquette created this awesome aesthetic with a beautiful use of lines and coloration. almost like a circus poster, like the old Barnum and Bailey circus posters that were built to catch your eye and bring you in to see the bearded lady and the strong man and the elephant man and whatever else,
Yeah, it's like it definitely has the feel of you are about to see something that is larger than life.
Yeah, and again, it was so hard to choose just one, but this one, again, it kind of tells that story that this is such a weird ragtag group. This is the group that's supposed to bring you in. This is the Justice League, this ragtag group of mismatched, superpowered egotists,
Right.
And it shines so well. It displays Wonder Woman at the forefront with Batman and Superman flanking her, and then there's little details everywhere on the borders of it with characters popping out in the borders and the little showcases underneath. It's executed so well, and even the title is like placed perfectly within the artwork, and that's a thing I really admired about Spider-Man: Renew Your Vows this year.
Yeah.
Every cover, the title is hidden in the artwork. It's on a sign, it's on a billboard in the background. They're swinging past it. It's not distracting from the artwork. It's adding to the artwork.
Yeah,
and
it becomes a part of the artwork, which is the perfect way to do that.
And I love it. I love it. I love it. So that made my final decision. It was very tough, like I really liked that Angel cover and
Angel cover is
the kind of
really
noir Batman / Catwoman cover that was episode 16, and it just so many great covers. Even the one that was next to it for episode 3, the Jessica Jones, kind of self-portrait, kind of LSD self-portrait.
Yeah.
Watercolor aesthetic. It was beautiful. So big shout out to Yannick Paquette and all the other artists we mentioned. Please look at their work and pick these covers up because they are works of art. They're just beautiful.
Yeah.
And then our final overall pick went all the way back to week 1.
Man.
Our pilot episode of the relaunch. Aquaman number 26, cover by Stepan Sajic. This one featuring a very, very detailed Mera in full force using her powers. And look, you have to realize just how fucking monotonous it is for an artist to draw scales repeatedly. Small, defined, well-placed scales, and doing it in a way that makes the light create the illusion of 3D imagery and realistic, imagery. And this one does it perfectly. And then you add the way he manipulated the light sourcing on the hair and on her outfit, and just all the swirling ocean around her. Everything is so technically proficient and professional, and just at a master level.
I was going to call this a masterwork.
As a penciler, it's just that takes so much dedication, and I have a lot of respect for all the artists that take on Aquaman and do it well.
Yeah,
specifically in like a realistic fashion and not like a cartoony. I'll draw a few scales and it'll make the impression that there's scales everywhere. No. Yeah, Stepan Sajic actually went through the fucking effort to make this an epic piece of art. And again, there was so many great covers in 2017. It's hard to pick just one, but I think you'd agree that this is just so great.
Yeah, there's something to this particular cover, which again is kind of ironic that this was episode 1.
Yeah.
There's something about this cover that popped in a way that I had to do a double take.
Yeah.
It's like
it stands out so
like of all the titles, 1, it's Aquaman. 2, it's a character that is drastically more powerful in quite a few ways. Mera. And 3, it's done in a way that is not only tasteful, but it's so articulate in its expression of the costume, the expression of her power,
Mhm.
the
And it does it in a way that doesn't beat you over the head with it.
right.
It's not the cocky new age, hey, look at me, I'm so strong and powerful and perfect.
right.
No, it's
She
she
looks
is
like-
enforcing her will
Like-
as a character.
It's like she looks like she is in the middle of attacking something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the way that would it like I would be afraid. I would immediately be afraid of what looks like is going to be a very powerful like water blast of some kind. Because that's what it looks like. It looks like something on par with like 3D animation where she's charging up like a water-based
Remember that-
Hadouken, basically.
You remember the end of Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End? Where they're battling on their ships in the giant whirlpool?
Yeah.
That was Mara.
Oh yeah, she's like I was busy attacking something else, and you guys have fun.
But yeah, it's just an awesome cover. Beautiful artwork. It had to have been painstaking to fucking do all that. And it shines so brightly. No pun intended there. It just looks so great. Stepan Sajic, you fucking knocked it out of the park with this one.
Oh my
And
god, yeah.
You have earned the prestigious, nay life-changing award of comic cover of 2017.
Yeah. Oh my god. Holy shit, Stepan Sajic. More, please.
But seriously, shout out to all the comic creators, all the writers, the illustrators, the colorists, the cover artists, the guest artists, even the publishers and the editors that take these things on, the letterists. They work so goddamn hard, and specifically in the art side of things,
Yeah.
unless you're a Jim Lee, you're typically just not getting the credit you deserve, and that sucks.
yeah.
But they put so much effort into this media that we love and adore and collect and frame,
yeah.
like
it's
priceless works of art, because they will be.
yeah.
I genuinely believe that some of these things will be priceless works of art.
Yeah, these are not just timeless, but these are teams
Mm-hmm.
working on each individual issue
Yeah.
to make sure that we can have the opportunity to purchase it ourselves.
Mm-hmm. So I really want to thank you all for all the hard work you do. And I hope to meet some of you in person at some kind of signing or something.
Yeah.
And personally, thank you for the great works of art and the great writing and the great stories that you've given us. And I want to thank Scott Snyder not only for his great work in the past, but also for bringing this to my attention, because I wasn't even going to do it. But he brought that to the forefront and called this guy from Vice out, and I think appropriately. And this guy from Vice, not to single him out, he's not the only one. I've seen things from different outlets, IGN, YouTube, Forbes, where you have had these kind of, cynical people that probably only subscribe and really pay attention to one or two companies,
right.
and are so butthurt about their one franchise or their one group of company comics that they feel the need to just trash the entire industry and trash all the hard work that these creators do.
Completely blind to I'm going to say there's more likely more than 10 good titles that have
in an
been
entire
out.
year.
Yeah, in an entire year.
I read like 100 titles every week. You telling me you couldn't find one?
God.
So really, I want to thank all the creators out there, and thank Scott Snyder for posting that on Twitter, and I think rightly calling that writer out. So I want to thank you all for sticking with us. This has been a little bit longer than usual because of all the news and the listing and stuff we wanted to do. And I hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you liked what you saw and heard here, be sure to hit like and subscribe. It really does genuinely help us out. We're trying to get to that point where we can have a vanity URL extension on our YouTube channel, so we don't have to make people click a button. They can just look at the / hit the books or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
That would really help us out if we can get to that goal. We'd be super grateful. Remember, you can always talk to us, comment in the YouTube comment section, give us a good review or constructive criticism on Stitcher, iTunes, YouTube, whatever. And like on and subscribe on those services if you use those audio services. Remember, you can hit us up on Twitter at HTBvids. Again, at HTBvids. You can hit us up on Facebook at / hit the books. Again, facebook.com / hit the books. And if you feel like you want to, you can talk to me directly. I'm on Twitter too.
What kind
again,
of discussion do you think we've had?
This one isn't mediocre. This one was fantastic. This was a fantastic episode of Hit the Books podcast.
You damn right.
But in all seriousness, these past 2 weeks have been pretty damn good. I really loved the topics last week.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
think this week the discussion was really good.
Oh, yeah. We've had the good fortune of having very interesting topics, like very timely topics to talk about.
So I want to thank all the viewers and listeners that joined us in 2017 and followed us into 2018. We really appreciate you. I want to thank Bob for joining us in December.
He's been our number one
Coming
guy.
Our new crewman. Bob, the hero we all deserve,
But
not the one we need.
not the one we need right now.
Um,
Or maybe it's the other way around. It's complicated.
Again, new episode every Wednesday. We got plenty of reviews in the future for you. Movies, comic volumes,